What is up? What is going on Monday? Monday. I am crazy enough, not super tired today. I don't know what happened. I don't know how this happened, but I am not completely wanting to fall asleep already. So we're doing good. We're doing good. Let's see what we got going on. So we get everybody here in the chat. Let's look at our Twitter feed. How's our Twitter feed looking? How insane does our Twitter feed look? Hope you guys watched that new video. I don't know what that means. Oh, I get it. This is like, dude. All of this stuff from these guys is some of the most insane stuff. But Laura Loomer takes the cake. None of the networks want to hire me. On July 17th, I hit 1 million followers. It's been 2.5 weeks, and I'm now at 1.2 million followers, which is really fucking scary. What's up, Levon? How's it going? That's 200,000 more in 2.5 weeks. None of the networks want to hire me. None of the networks will even have me on. But I have more followers and more viewers than most of their hosts combined. People are hungry for hard-hitting investigative journalism and unfiltered truth. Yeah, I think there's some real distinct reasons why Laura Loomer will never get a real job. Sorry, Laura. But you're on Tim Pool, and that's it, my friend. That's as far as this is going. Let's see. I love this. All of the people that are like now, they're like, the stock market's gonna crash. Donald Trump is like on Twitter, like melting down and talking about how like it's all gonna crash, and he's like super excited about it. And people are like, that's fine. They think it's okay. That he thinks it's hilarious. Where is it at here? God, we got some really good stuff too. God, this stuff right here. Have you guys seen this shit? Oh my god. No, guys. Just don't do that. Just don't do that. Just, if you ever have the chance to do that, just don't do that. Where is it? We'll watch this dumb shit in a second. We're gonna watch the Aiden Ross interview for, well, at least we'll watch the Adam Mockler version of it here in a minute. Oh, this lady. Love this lady. This Valentina Gomez chick is fucking insane. I call it how I see it. Fat slut shaming is how we take back America. Kamala Harris is an Indian hoe. Like, dude, the fact that, like, I love how people on the right are like, the left is divisive, and this is one of their people. This is one of their representatives. It's so amazing. I'm trying to find the actual tweet here. Oh, here you go. This is an amazing one. This is great. This is a guy named Witsit, who's a fucking flat earther, debating destiny. And this is amazing right here. What's up, Mike? What's up, DJ? What's up, Renee?
Before
I wanted to find the one of the night show specifically, so I had to look up that thing. If you just type in Kamala Guns, you're gonna find at least 4 or 5 different times that she's specifically talked about executive.
Because this is all the people that come into my chat that are like, I have facts, I have evidence. Oh yeah, you do? Yeah, I got it off X. X is not the place to go for news, guys.
That was one of her primary talking points she ran on in the primary. Okay,
is that how you do research? You go to X.com and you type in Kamala Guns.
You didn't know that X is basically the most effective way to get news today? Where have you been?
Do you really believe that? You think that X? You think
absolutely?
Okay,
absolutely.
All right, and then wait, hold on, just real quick. Do you think that the Earth is round or flat?
I don't believe this Earth's a spinning globe.
Okay. Do you think gravity's real?
Yeah, gravity's real, just not what you think it is.
You think it's just buoyancy and density, right?
No, it's intrinsically electrostatic. Everything's intrinsically electrostatic.
Okay, gotcha. You learned all this on X?
No, I've done diligent research and all the things you would never want to debate me about that. That's real.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious because you're a big gun guy.
Do you want to agree to a debate right now about
why do you have to zero a gun when you shoot a bullet? Why does it fall at all? Like, why are they lobbing the bullet?
Because it has weight, which is mass times gravity, which is volume times density times downward acceleration, 9.8 meters per second squared, which has nothing to do with the bending and warping of space-time, which is reification fallacy. You would never want to debate me about this. That's me. If you want to agree right now publicly, we'll do a future debate on flat Earth. But
No,
I
I'm
don't
good.
think you want.
No, I don't think I can handle all the news you're getting from X. So
I don't think you can. Let's be real. Like Zerka kind of dunked on you there. You know.
If you don't know who Zerka is a cokehead guy who yells homophobic Jesus quotes at people, and that's what happens when you get your news from X. That's what happens when you get your news from X. Oh, dude, I don't know if you guys. I can't play that. I want to play this video of this diver doing that, but they'll probably give me a DMCA for that. I'm trying to find it. Oh, here's a good one. Here's a great. Does X have weather? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. Oh, I know what X does have. And X has cancer. Okay, there's a lot of cancer on this fucking website. I kind of like, you feel dirty just using X. Like you are part of something that you never agreed to be a part of. This is from Donald Trump's Truth, which is like the little, like the redheaded stepchild of X. This is what Donald Trump posted, looks like 2 days ago. We have to purge the party of people that go against our candidates and make it harder for a popular Republican president to beat the radical left lunatics. Jeff Duncan is a loser who is disintegrating on his own. You know, he doesn't know how to spell disintegrating. Somebody else wrote this tweet. Congratulations to Josh McCoon for purging our party of misfits and people that don't want to see us succeed. So right now what's happening on the right is that the right is like they're eating themselves. And I follow like some like regular conservatives, just like normal, everyday, like Barry Goldwater, fucking fiscally conservative people. And they are so fucking upset right now because Donald Trump shit on Kemp, who Kemp has like a 63% approval rating in Georgia. And Donald Trump is still big mad that Kemp didn't like do what he wanted him to do and overturn the election in Georgia. And so he's shitting on Kemp. And of course, all the people in Georgia love Kemp. So now you have all these like conservatives that are like, fuck Donald Trump. Like Donald Trump is his own worst enemy, as has always been the problem. He's his own worst enemy. He's literally causing other conservatives to hate him. This is a pretty good video too here.
Harris, she wants bigger government that can tell you what to do, and she also wants smaller bank accounts, which I think a lot of us have seen. But Donald Trump, by contrast, delivered record paychecks and the strongest border in history. What an amazing record.
This man is a hero. This man is a hero.
Kamala Harris wants to ban fracking and buy energy from every tin-pot dictator all over the world. Donald Trump wants to drill, baby, drill. Let's get it from our own workers.
Like, no one can take them seriously. J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, it's really bad. So anyways, this is a tweet I was looking for right here. This is what he tweeted last night at like 1 a.m. Or I guess that's his time, 11 o'clock. Stock market's crashing. I told you so. Kamala doesn't have a clue. Biden is sound asleep. All caused by inept U.S. leadership. Now, mind you, he tweeted like 6 months ago that the reason the stock market was doing so good was because he was going to win. They knew he was going to win. So therefore, that's why the stock market was doing so well. It's just insane. Yeah, Republican conservatives are endorsing Harris. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't want to call it X either, Pro Buzzard, and I gotta stop. It's Twitter. It's Twitter. Oh, God. It's amazing right now. Like, what's going on in the Republican Party right now is, if you're a Republican, if you're like a true red conservative, traditional conservative, this is your chance. I'm just going to throw this out there for you. There is a chance for you. I tweeted this the other day. I said the gate is open. The door is open. There is no guards at the gate. This is your chance to escape. Okay, this is your chance. If you want to take back the Republican Party from these insane fucking MAGA clowns, now's your chance. Now's your chance. Because there is so much discord on the right now. I don't know if you guys saw that video of John Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana, who I have a soft spot for. I have a soft spot for him, even though he's a moron, because every once in a while he says old-timey shit like, this is stinkier than old yogurt. Or he's like, I like that about as much as I like cottage cheese. And he says dumb shit like that, and it makes me laugh. It gets to me. It makes me laugh. But anyways, he was on Fox News, and he was talking to somebody, and the person was saying, like, he's like, can we just stop saying DEI? It really makes our side look really bad and look racist to continue to say this. And John Kennedy goes, she's a ding-dong. She's a ding-dong that's a part of the loony wing of the party. And the dude's like, can we stop insulting her? Like, he's like, it's not working. It's a bad idea. He's like, I'm not insulting I just called her a ding-dong. And he's like, dude, like, please stop saying ding-dong. Now, you can't have the $2. It's my $2 now, Levon. It's my $2. There was no recession. Well, and here's the thing. There is no stock market crash. That's not, like, every time that there's election, you can look this up. It's historically accurate. There's always ups and downs to do with the stock market, because the stock market isn't truly indicative of how the economy is going. It's how well the economy is going for wealthy people. The stock market is an indicator of how much confidence wealthy people have in everything. It doesn't actually have much to do with the actual economy. But people tend to really, like, match it one for one, right? And it is an indicator, but it is not the economy. It is an indicator. And I can't remember what it's called, but there's an indicator for a recession that if unemployment goes up by 0.5% more than the lowest percentage it's been over a 3-month period in, like, the last 3 years or something like that, that there's it's triggered a recession like 99% of the time. But the problem with that is that we just came out of a pandemic, a global pandemic in which we shut down the economy completely. So therefore, unemployment rates have been at record lows. Now, the unemployment rate is going to be skewed over the last 3 years because of COVID. Therefore, the indicator that we usually use to tell us that we are going into a recession, and the woman who created this indicator is the one who said this, is not completely accurate right now. And I said this a couple weeks ago. We haven't dodged a recession, but for one, that's not, if we do go into a recession, that's not Biden's fault. That's not Kamala's fault. We have been doing an amazing job keeping ourselves out of a recession. This is one of those things that people, like, don't completely understand. It's just the fact that we have been dodging a recession this whole time is something that people should pat themselves on the back for. Not just Joe Biden, but everybody. Americans have been a part of this. We have all pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps out of the pandemic and, like, really pushed fucking hard to stay out of a recession. And the potential is still there. It's still there. But the rest of the globe has been dealing with recession, dealing with hyperinflation, and we've driven inflation down to 3%. We've avoided a recession. We might see rate cuts in September to get back to a point where you have people like Katie Porter out there putting out brand new ideas for housing and getting the market going again. Like, that's all stuff that people should be able to, like, pat themselves on the back on, but you can't right now, because if you do, people are like, it's not good, nothing's good, brother. It's all bad. It's all bad. Speaking of delusional, what up, Frosty? She's a ding dong. She's a ding dong. Dude, he cracks me up. So this is where fucking right wingers are right now. Is this a man or a woman? How you respond will determine the strength of your character. It's fucking Katie Ledecky, you fucking idiot. Katie Ledecky is one of the most decorated Americans, a true fucking patriot, one of the best representations of the athletes that we send over to the Olympics to dominate, with 78 total medals so far. And this fucking idiot who looks like this is what this moron looks like. That's this fucking imp, this goddamn goblin, is talking shit about people's fucking appearances. Fucking, I hate that guy so much. That's a good meme. That's a good meme. Good times create weak men. That's a good meme. It's a solid meme. It's a solid meme. Also, it was Barack Obama's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Barack Obama. Yeah. So anyways, I just really wanted to point out the whole bullshit behind, once again, the scare tactics of the stock market's crashing. No, it's not crashing. It's down 2%. And yes, it was on a jobs report that was subpar. But one of the things I don't think people realize this in 2024, stocks don't just go up. I know that that's something that everybody learned during COVID. Everybody became stock market traders during COVID. And they're like, nah, dog, stocks just go up. Diamond hands to the moon. And they got like all these cliches and dumb shit. Strong like apes. They got all these dumb shit cliches now. It's not how the stock market works. It's never been that way. Like, where the stock market is right now is fucking fantastic. Down 2%, you're okay. This shit, it's not over, guys. I know all the crypto people are losing their fucking mind right now, though. But that's what happens. That's what you get for fucking investing in crypto. This is not financial advice. Where's Jess? I don't know where Jess is right now. Frosty, you suck at spending money on groceries. Let's see. What else we got? Olympics in Paris. Dude, we are killing it in the Olympics right now. Killing it! Fucking let's go. America. Not like these unpatriotic ass fucking right-wing MAGA motherfuckers, okay? I celebrate when people come home from Russia. I celebrate when America wins at the Olympics. I'm an actual patriot. Not like you patriots. Patriots? Does that work? Is that we're testing it? We're doing. Have you guys seen the video of Donald Trump? Have you seen the video where he's testing out nicknames? He's taking nicknames with his crowd, and he's like, I think we'll call her Laughing Kamala, Laughing, LAFFIN apostrophe. First of all, why the fuck is Donald Trump spelling laughing? LAFFIN. Like he's like a 22-year-old fucking skibbity toilet Generation Z kid. But second, why throw on the apostrophe? Why apostrophe? And then it's like 2 weeks later. It's like two weeks later. And he's like, I think we'll call her Crazy. CRAZY apostrophe. What the fuck is that? Why is it with the apostrophe? What is the fucking apostrophe for? Alright, speaking of the insanity. He's like a 12-year-old? Yeah, probably. That's probably closer. What's up, that one girl? So speaking of the insanity that surrounds the MAGA world, we've already talked about Dana White beating his wife at a bar in Acapulco as being one of Donald Trump's friends. We've already talked about Lawrence Taylor, who just recently, once again, got in trouble for breaking his probation after he paid a 16-year-old for sexual favors and assaulted her. You've got Don Jr. He's just Don Jr. Let's just leave it at Don Jr. Hulk Hogan, who has said on tape, yeah, I'm a little racist, used the N-word, called the daughter's boyfriend a useless N-word, and at least if she was going to date a black man, why couldn't he at least be a basketball player? He also called black people blizzy pizzies. That's like the least offensive thing that he did. And now, to just keep it going, he is now doing an interview with Aiden fucking Ross. Aiden Ross, whose cuck ass sniffed the chair of an alleged human trafficker. And I only say alleged because he hasn't been convicted yet, because I've watched all this shit. I've seen the man admitting to being a human trafficker on videotape. Andrew Tate's ass is an alleged human trafficker, and Aiden Ross is his number one cuck. All right? Sure, they do all kinds of human trafficking together. Allegedly. Anyways, I don't know why the fuck we live in 2024 and a former president of the United States is now giving an interview to a man that shields for an alleged human trafficker in front of what looks like a green screen of old white people. It's so fucking weird. Anyways, let's watch this video. Trump's a wild dude. Why would I think the Olympics are done for? The Olympics are fucking amazing. I love the Olympics. Dude, I've been watching the Olympics since I was like 8, dude. Kamala Harris's husband, though. Dude, you can't. I love that you guys thought that was like a good fucking lane. I feel like I should be a Republican political consultant. I can help you guys out so much. You guys got together with your fucking 6 brain cells between the 7 of you, and you were like, you know what we should do? You know what we should do? We should call out Kamala Harris's husband for cheating on his last wife. Your fucking candidate has literally cheated on every woman that he has married. The man was found guilty in a trial of paying a porn star to not talk about him cheating on his wife that just had a 2-month-old. Like, what? Like, do you guys have quality assurance on the right wing? Do conservatives have a quality assurance unit? Like, because that means it's like drunk texting. Like, before you drunk text, you should show that to somebody else. And then that person just erases that for you. Like, all of your guys' ideas. All of your ideas. What do you, Frosty, do you think Kid Rock doesn't get paid, dog? Do you think none of those people, do you think Aiden Ross isn't getting some money for this? That's racist, Frosty. I ain't going there. I ain't even reading that shit. Racist.
Donald Trump is not good at much, but one thing he is a master at is political doublespeak. The ability to say something so open to interpretation that one group can take it as a threat while leaving enough plausible...
Oh, see, I call it indirect. I call it indirect communication.
Something so open to interpretation that one group can take it as a threat while leaving enough plausible deniability that another group can take it as a complete joke. Donald Trump has repeatedly shown throughout the years that he can say something that his audience takes as a complete joke. They somehow see the sarcasm while the rest of us are like, did he just say he wants to be a day one dictator? And then at other times he says something completely outrageous but then plays it off like he was being serious, like the black jobs part. But Donald Trump sat down to do an interview with live streamer Aiden Ross, who is 23 years old, worth $100 million, and a complete...
Dude, it's going to be like 4 or 5 years from now, and I'm still going to be playing that NAJB interview. She was Indian? She was Indian for a really long time? And then all of a sudden, she turns around, and she's a black person. It's never going to not be funny, all right? She's taking all of your black jobs. Like, to say that at the fucking National Association of Black Journalists, to tell them that there are people coming to take their black jobs. Like, there's a bunch of immigrants that are crossing the border that are supposedly sexual assaulters, criminals, and terrorists that are going to become black journalists. Fuck, dude. It's never going to not be funny. That was like in the world of 2024, where you think things cannot get any crazier or more insane. Donald Trump is the hold my beer candidate. He is the guy that you're like, holy shit, he got shot at by somebody that didn't even turn out to be a liberal. Okay? Joe Biden drops out. You're like, there's nothing more. This is as far as we can go in 2024. There is not a single thing that can possibly, like, make us think of anything other than this. And then this man goes to the NABJ and starts black-splaining to black people why they're supposed to be upset. God damn, dude. Oh, fuck. Oh, God. Just thinking about it, it makes my life, oh, man. Yeah, like, I can see it in my head. It's fucking amazing. It is one of the greatest. That interview should never, ever go away. It should be on the internet forever. Oh my God.
He says something completely outrageous, but then plays it off like he was being serious, like the black jobs part. But Donald Trump sat down to do an interview with live streamer Aiden Ross, who is 23 years old, worth $100 million, and a complete weirdo.
Later,
He has
Frosty.
sniffed the seats of Andrew Tate.
Later, buddy.
He has said many, many racist, misogynistic things, but Donald Trump said something during this interview that went over my head during the first watch and went over
Yeah, I want to answer something to what Abaddon said. To answer the poll, if the Dems won the election, so long as Democrats won't go after guns, I don't think the Republicans will actually do anything too crazy other than throw tantrums. I agree with that. I also, this is something, this is actually politics, okay? This is something that has been going on in politics forever, and that is that you're going to have people polarize each other's stances, right? Like, when it comes to Kamala Harris is a very progressive person. She is very strict on gun crimes, which I think is a great thing. I think it's amazing. I think if you commit a crime with a gun, you make responsible gun owners look bad. I think that everybody should be in support of people being held accountable when they commit crimes with guns, because that does make people want to create more laws to keep you from having them. So even if you are a Second Amendment right-wing conservative person, you should actually be all for what Kamala stands on. And that is, if you commit a crime with a gun, that you will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And I've said this before, when it comes to stuff like school shootings, I think that if a parent either buys the gun for the child or the child gets a hold of the gun from the parent should also be held responsible. To be a good gun owner, which I am in favor of, you have to take accountability and responsibility. No one is ever going to take your guns. Like, the implausibility, logistically speaking, of trying to take all the guns in America is just ridiculous. There's over 400 million guns in America. No one's taking your guns. It's just something that you guys have been saying for like 40 fucking years. Because, and I get that. I get it. There's these static talking points on both sides, and the one for the right that is the two that are the most scary for the right are immigrants are going to take your jobs, and the Democrats are going to take your guns. I remember my father-in-law back when Obama was president. He was like, he's gonna like, Obama is literally gonna come all the way, and my father-in-law lives way the fuck out there. He's going to come out to my house, and they're gonna take my guns away. Of course, that never happened, because it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's implausible. Logistically speaking, you can't take all the guns. If we could, that shit would have happened a long time ago. Believe me. So, yeah, I think, once again, Republicans are going to find themselves realizing that.
Donald Trump said something during this interview that went over
we
my
also
head
own
during
guns.
the first watch
Yes,
and went over
exactly.
a lot of people's heads. I want to break that down, but to lay some of the groundwork, this article reads, Donald Trump's affinity for authoritarian figures is very well established. When he was in the White House, he boasted of his relationship with people like North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin. But Trump's latest praise for some of the world's biggest strongmen and his comment that he wouldn't be a dictator, quote, except for day one, just one day, has alarmed Trump's critics who say they fear the former.
I love the dudes too that are like, he was joking. Like, I've watched that interview multiple times. That man is not joking. He's like, he thinks it's a good idea. Like, this is the problem with Trump supporters, is when they make excuses for him for the dumbass shit he does. Like, he thinks it's a good idea. He doesn't see why anybody would be upset with him saying, I'm just going to be a dictator for one day. That's it. Everybody should be chill with that.
Former president would veer even further to the right if re-elected. They point to Trump calling his political enemies vermin.
Yeah, fuckers bought all the
dehumanizing
ammo.
word that echoes fascist dictators such as Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. Not to mention, Donald Trump has echoed the words of Hitler verbatim multiple times by saying that immigrants would poison the blood of our country. There are
And once again, my favorite part of that is that, look, you could say some shit and not know, right? Like, you could say something and someone would be like, hey, sir, don't say that shit again. That's a Hitler quote. And you could be like, oh, snap. Okay, sorry about that. Like, you can come out, you could be like, hey, guys, like, I didn't know. Like, I ain't never read Mein Kampf. Like, even if you did, even if you're a right-wing politician and you read Mein Kampf, most of the time, back in the day, they'd come out and they'd be like, I don't read that shit. Like, that, I don't know how I did it, but I said the exact same words. And then you stop. Donald Trump's like, Yeah, I said it. Well, Hitler said it too. That's okay. It's not that big of a deal. And then he just keeps saying this shit. Oh,
Many signs
fuck,
that Donald
he's so
Trump wants to be
crazy.
a dictator that he doesn't even have a fundamental understanding of how the Constitution works.
Sir.
I mean, before he
Thanks,
got into
buddy.
office, he said that if anyone burns an American flag, they should lose their citizenship, which that obviously falls under our First Amendment right, correct? And as the years went on, I thought,
Look
oh,
at
he's probably
sir.
learned, but he recently doubled down on that last month. But let's play this clip of Donald Trump praising the dictatorship
He's
in
getting-
Venezuela, and then I have more clips of him.
Levon, he's getting so hurt right now. I'm making fun of his dude, and he's just like, he's crying and jerking off at the same time. Oh, he's so mad. Oh, it's okay, dude. I'm sorry if I'm hurting your feelings, sir. I really am. I feel bad for you. You don't have any friends. You don't have any family. Fucking people at work hate you because you're annoying. Like, your fucking only thing you have in life is Donald Trump, and he's about to lose to the person that you hate more than anything, a black person. Yeah. It sucks. It sucks for you. It really does. I'm sorry.
Him
I'm
praising
sorry, bud.
Kim Jong-un and people like Xi Jinping while being mean to Trudeau. Just watch this clip.
The whole situation out there.
Well, I know it very well.
Right? Do you what do you think about what's going on in Venezuela? The whole situation out there.
Well, I know it very well. And Venezuela is right now being run by a dictator. We were enemies with Venezuela. Venezuela was going to collapse, and people could have gone back to Venezuela. They're in our country now. They've released tremendous numbers of
Bro, why does he have to do the accordion all the time? Dude, why do you have to do that every time? Oh my god. That's so fucking amazing.
criminals into our country. If you look at Caracas, it was known for being a very dangerous city, and now it's very safe. In fact, the next interview we'll do it in Caracas.
Look at his feelings are so hurt. Sir, dude, it's okay. Get a therapist, brother. Like, it's all right, you know. It's okay in 2024. Like, in, like, 1960 when you were born, I understand. Back in the day, like, it wasn't okay. But it's all right. In 2024, you can get a therapist, dog. I know that this is, like, tough for you. Just watching your candidate just fucking catch on fire and just, like, burn. The smell of that orange fucking makeup, that shit gives cancer. I'll be honest with you. I feel for you. It sucks, dude. But, you know, like, you gotta get your shit together because you're still gonna have to be here after it's all over. And your Donald goes to Russia.
Caracas, Venezuela, because it's
I'm
safer
down.
than many of our cities.
So Donald Trump says in one breath, it's being run by a dictator. He explains that Venezuela is now a dictatorship. And then he says, just 20 seconds later, it's very safe. It's safer than many of our cities. And later on in this interview, Donald Trump begins to praise leaders like Xi Jinping, praise leaders like Kim Jong-un. We will get to that. Let's
What up,
return
lady?
to this article. Donald Trump
What up,
channeled
RA?
his role models as he parroted Adolf Hitler, praised Kim Jong-un, and quoted Vladimir Putin while running for president on a promise to rule as a dictator and threaten American democracy. Biden campaign spokesperson Amar Musa said in a statement about 3 months back. Trump is not shying away from his plan to lock up millions of people into detention camps and continues to lie about that time when Joe Biden obliterated him by over 7 million votes 3 years ago. Of course,
That's
the big
gotta
election
hurt.
fraud lie that Donald
Over
Trump still spreads to
7
this
million
day.
votes.
Trump and his supporters have downplayed his flattering words for authoritarian figures and his talk of
Fucking
using executive
wrecked.
powers to enact border policies that critics call draconian, saying that now I really quickly
Chris,
want to
what's up,
highlight the
Chris?
way that Donald Trump talks about leaders like Kim Jong-un, people who are just terrible, terrible leaders who assassinate
Yeah, literally shit fucking leaders. And Donald Trump and all of his supporters are like, he's a good guy. Even though Kim Jong-un called Mike Pence an idiot and threatened to nuke America when Donald Trump was the president. This dude wasn't exactly friends with Donald Trump. But Donald Trump's that type of dude. He's like, he still likes me. I know he said he wanted to nuke the country, but he mostly was talking about you guys, not me. Not me.
people who suppress the media, who go
What
to
up, Jeannie?
war with anyone who dissents. I want to show you the difference between how he
What up,
talks
Billiam?
about Kim Jong-un and someone like Justin Trudeau, our Canadian neighbor who's not perfect, but he's a liberal ally. Let's take a look.
Now, this man I really got along with well. We had Little Rocket Man. We had the Red Button. He said, I have a red button on my...
Holy fuck, he's such a stable genius. I love that these dipshits come in here and they're like, dude, Kamala can't speak. Like, oh my god. Holy fuck. I know she uses bigger words than you're used to and she talks in full sentences. I know that like that's hard. Maybe we should, I bet there's money. I bet there would be money in an app that takes like normal people speaking, like actually just like a normal everyday person speaking, and translate it into Trump dipshittery. Oh, dude, we should talk to that Straight Facts No Chaser guy. The Straight Facts No Chaser guy has a translator. We need to get an app that these dipshits can hold up to their TV when Kamala's speaking, and it can talk in Donald Trump's language for them. I think that's the only way we can reach them, guys. Don't steal my idea, okay? That's $1 million idea. It's a little rocket man. He had a red button.
Man, we had the red button. He said, I have a red button on my desk. And I said, no, I have a red button.
I love how you guys
too,
stay.
mine's
I love that you guys
is
wait
in my
5
note.
minutes to hang out in here, and then you stay while I make fun of you.
They're clapping like they're in North Korea. They clap after everything he says.
It was a really bad month and a half. You know,
We need stupid goggles.
very,
Yeah.
very tough on President Obama. Very tough on everybody.
It was actually the opposite. President Obama was tough on Kim Jong-un by isolating him on the global stage by saying, hey, we're not going to entertain you if you're just going to act like you're going to shoot rockets over the border. Number one. Number
Dude, Kim Jong-un made fun of Donald Trump because Donald Trump didn't know how to set an appointment. Donald Trump didn't know how to set up a meeting. He was just like, I'm going to come by on Tuesday. I'll see you at the DMZ. Like, when Kim Jong-un thinks you're not professional, you know you're a fucking moron. Nah, dog, I love you. Stay, sir. Don't be a bitch. Don't talk shit and run. Hang out, dog.
two, Donald Trump genuinely is the one who
Is there a new
legitimized
Titus?
Kim Jong-un on the
I don't
global
know. I have
stage
to
by
see it.
meeting with him, by doing
I have
photo
to
ops
see
and
it.
saying that he introduced him to the Western way of life. But then Kim Jong-un escalated just months later.
You know, it's the Hermit Nation, and it really is. I mean, it's. I said to
Hermit
him,
Nation?
"Do you know Elton John?" No. I said, "Did you ever hear the song Rocket Man?" And I actually played him the.
Dude, that's a high-level conversation between two world leaders right there. High-level conversation. Do you know who Elton John is? Because it's going to be very important to my joke that you know who Elton John is. Dude, have you guys ever seen, it's the fucking Seth Rogen movie, The Interview? Is that what it's called? Where they go over to North Korea? And then fucking, what's his friend? The misogynist. What's his friend? God damn it. The one who got in trouble. The assaulter. Whatever his fucking name is. He like hangs out with Kim Jong-un and they play fucking fireworks from Katy Perry. Like, this shit is real life. This is real life. It's 100% real fucking life. Oh, look, it's Sir Master J's second account. The bots are deep tonight. Oh, I love you guys. Thanks for being here. I mean, I know you're not an actual plumber, son. There's no plumber that would claim you, sir. No plumbers would claim you.
The song Rocket Man. I said, no, I've
Such
never
a
heard it. I said,
statesman.
"You're Rocket Man." I know you call me Little Rocket Man, not Rocket Man. But I tell you what, so we had a very nasty.
said you called
people were
me
actually
Little
worried about
Rocket
it 'cause
Man.
it had been dangerous. But
Oh,
President Obama told
fuck.
me that this was
This is just overall a disastrous interview. Donald Trump is slurring his words.
All
and I'm not
engagement
being
is good
ageist when I say
engagement.
that he is acting like the old grandpa who is rambling on. Now, there is nothing wrong with being 78 years old, but when you're trying to entrench your power as the president of the United
Hold on, Ganja. I have 12 pages of notes. We're gonna as much as you want. We can go as long as you want. I got 12 pages of notes on this shit. You tell me something, we'll talk about it.
States,
12
when you're
pages
running
on
for
that
the
bitch.
highest office
Let's go.
arguably in the world, probably one of the most important offices in the world,
Let's
you can't
go.
have mental
You
deterioration
can't hang.
while also just
You
being
can't
overall
hang.
kind of dumb. Now notice how he talks about Xi Jinping.
powerful man. He's a powerful man. I know him very well. I know him probably better than anybody in this country knows him. And got to know him extremely well. We had a great relationship.
Weird flex. I know Xi Jinping better than anybody in this country knows him. I'm sure there are people that have studied Xi Jinping their whole lives or met him, or I'm sure he might have family in the U.S. I don't know.
Relationship until COVID. COVID was a step too far. But we did very well with China. And
Come on,
President Xi,
MAGA!
we did.
You guys, if you
very,
get your
very
two
well with
brain
China.
cells
Taking
together,
hundreds of billions
if y'all
of
can
dollars.
just
No
compile
president
your
took
brain
in 10
cells, you
cents.
might be
I
able.
took in.
You waited 5 minutes to
Now
say
let's
this
see.
dumb
Is
shit.
Donald Trump going to be as nice about Justin Trudeau? Is he going to say that he's a smart man? He's a good leader. He runs a good country.
Exactly,
or
Chris.
he gets along with him well.
Yeah. He's turned to a liberal, actually. They say he's the son of Fidel Castro. And could be.
Lil Kim had a bigger
anything's
rocket.
possible in this world, you know? You're gonna
Your
learn as you
dad.
go.
That's
You're
my.
gonna-
Those are
you've
my
seen a lot already
pronouns.
for your age.
Plumber's
Her
son.
age, I would say. Per
Your
year spent, you've seen
dad.
As much as anybody.
So that wraps up this video. Donald Trump has an affinity for authoritarians, and he doesn't like liberal democracies. It reminds me of every other authoritarian leader around the world or wannabe authoritarian. Vladimir Putin, for example, has an innate, deep hatred for liberalism, and he hasn't even stepped foot in America a day in his life. Either way,
Right.
if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment a blue heart, hit that subscribe button so you can join this beautiful community that we're building heading into.
Support Adam Mockler. Dude, Adam Mockler is doing a great fucking job. God, just think about it. These dipshits in chat, they're in their 40s, never accomplished a goddamn thing in their life, and they just look at somebody like Adam Mockler, and they're like, fuck, man, if I wouldn't have fucking started drinking when I was like 7, and if my mom wouldn't have smoked crack while I was in her belly, boy, I could have been something. But instead, I'm a dipshit that waited 5 minutes in this YouTuber's chat to say this dumb shit. This is the culmination of your entire life. Oh, I love that you guys use that quote. What can be unburdened by what has been? That just shows how fucking stupid you guys are that you don't know what that means. I love that they're like, they say the fucking quote from Kamala and they're like, how dumb is she? It's like straight up idiocracy. You guys know that part in the Idiocracy where he goes to the doctor, he's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. The dude's like, you got no tattoo! Where's your tattoo? And he sits down with the doctor and he's like, so what's going on? And he's like, your shit's all fucked up and you talk like a tard. He's like, it's cool though. Like, tards do lots of good things. My sister's a tard. She's a pilot. Like, it's Idiocracy. It's just straight up fucking Idiocracy. It's great. I bet you every one of these motherfuckers owns a fucking a jumpsuit with NASCAR endorsements on it and like a fucking like 10 pairs of Crocs. God, it's gonna be great. Oh, you guys are gonna cry so much when he loses. The tears will flow so strong. We can't understand the big words she uses. I don't understand what you're saying and I don't like it. Holy fuck. It's amazing. I love this shit. I'm 100% profiling. What do you think? I'm not profiling? I'm like 110% profiling. Is it not clear that I'm profiling? Let's watch some dipshittery. Let's do this one though first because this is the it's got. I was asking people before. I was like, can we change JD Vance's name to Flipper? And I saw there was a Lincoln Project video called Flipper, and I was like, fuck, they stole my idea. I'm a huge profiler, Will. I come from the trailer park. I know my people, dog. I know my people. I'm not. No, like I shared a meme today. I shared a meme, and it's gonna help you understand something. I'm a good person. I'm not a nice person. Just so you know. Just so you know. Just like George Carlin, just like Bill Burr. Good people, not nice people. I'm a good person, not a nice person.
The Olympics give us examples of unparalleled athleticism,
Stop
feats
drink!
of human flexibility that defy imagination. But there's one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kelsey. I know how it feels. But here's the thing is, if you don't laugh at these dipshits, so I don't know, for a lot of you guys haven't been here the whole time. But I am a firm believer that MAGA supporters as a whole are under the influence of what's called mass psychosis. Mass psychosis for people, even people that are mentally strong, but for people that are mentally weak, it's very easy for them to come under the influence of something like mass psychosis. So mass psychosis is where you have extreme events that are followed by calm periods, and then extreme events again that eventually break certain people. Now, I believe that MAGA supporters are under the influence of mass psychosis. And if you look into all like the symptoms of mass psychosis, you'll see what I'm saying. But one of the ways that you combat mass psychosis is to mock it. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what you do. So for the last year and a half, I have been on here showing every single fucking person I can exactly how insane, how ignorant, how ridiculous MAGA supporters are. And I have made sure to constantly and consistently draw a line between what I call conservatives and MAGA supporters. Because MAGA supporters are the real rhinos. It's not Republicans. Conservatives and Republicans are actual Republicans. MAGA supporters are Republicans in name only, because they're not actually Republicans. They don't have any policy stances. They have no foundation for their beliefs. And their candidate isn't even a fucking Republican. Okay? You just saw Kyle Rittenhouse the other day get kicked out of the cult because he said he was going to vote for Ron Paul, who's closer to a Republican than Donald Trump has ever been in his whole fucking life. So I get on here and I laugh at this shit because it's good medicine. It's good medicine.
The Olympics give us examples of unparalleled athleticism, feats of human flexibility that defy imagination. But there's one man whose superhuman flexibility is unparalleled. That man is J.D. Vance. Just watch as J.D. Vance flips on his most passionately held beliefs.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place.
Tonight, we celebrate he is our once and future President of the United States of America.
Unbelievable! Do you believe in miracles? Okay, here we see J.D. Vance trying the technically complex and difficult move of dodging his comments about women.
We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies. As a parent, you should have more power. You should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. Of course.
Y'all are fucking weird. Let's just be honest. This shit's weird. Like I said, this was my movement for the last 2 years. I've been telling you guys we're weird for a long time. I've also told you guys, look, when you want to get out the cult, you guys let me know. I'll be at the gate with a cigarette and a hug for you. We'll let you out, welcome you back into society. Nobody's going to be able to forget all the weird shit you said. That's true, because that's on the internet now. I'm sorry for that. But at the end of the day, once Trump leaves you like the abusive partner that he is, once Daddy Trump loses this election and moves to Russia to be with Putin, and you guys are left here and you're like, fuck, I don't know what to do with my hands, like, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to offer you guys a cigarette. I'm going to give you guys a hug, and I'm going to say, welcome back to reality. Welcome back to sanity. Welcome back to being a real American. Welcome back to being an actual patriot, not a fake triot. Okay? I'm still working on that one. Okay? I'm still working on that. We're brainstorming it. But this shit is weird. I've been saying it for 2 years. So I'm glad the rest of the left has caught up with me, and they all owe me an apology for coming in here and saying I was mean for making fun of these people because they're mentally ill. Okay? I mock this shit because it should be mocked.
For a whole host of reasons, it's not going to work out for some people. We should pray for those people.
Oh, incredible! Just incredible! Can you believe he does all this from the comfort of his couch? Wow! Just wow! J.D. Vance.
Oh, that fucking headphones today. Headphones are dying again. We might just have to go no headphones if this is going to continue. What is going on? Let me ask you a question, Will, because I told you I'm a good person. I'm just not a nice person. Are you a conservative or are you a MAGA Republican, Will? Because if you are a conservative, we can talk about stuff. But if you're a MAGA Republican, I got nothing for you, because you're just gonna offer me a bunch of weird conspiracy theories that don't make any sense. I can have discussions with conservatives. I just can't have discussions with cult members. Sorry, buddy. I don't have a party. Which party do you think I'm a part of, Will? Which party do you think I'm in? What do you think I'm registered as, Will? I wonder. I need
the undisputed champion.
I need to know what Will thinks. Will, answer both my questions. Are you a conservative or are you a MAGA Republican? And then I also want to know, which party do you think I'm registered as? I need to know that too. No, don't remove it. Oh shit, I almost removed it. What is going on with my sound devices today? Drink! Boy, if you guys have been watching this since the start, you guys are drunk by now. What is this shit? I wonder if he keeps switching over. Are you answering my question? What's up, Sour Shoes? Elon, Tucker, and Jr. all time. I know, I heard that Don Jr. and Vance were friends. I am a independent as well, Will. I am a registered independent. Thank you. Why is this shit not working? Here, let's try it this way. Whoosh. Good job, Billiam. That's probably the best thing to do is to just drink water. Good call. Let's do this. We might just go back to speakers here, and then you guys are going to have to deal with it coming out of the speakers. Because this... Oh, it doesn't like that. We have broken the YouTube. We have broken... Dude, Will, are you doing this to me, Will? Will, have you hacked my computer?
Today, not tomorrow, not next week.
All right, we're going to just go with the speakers. Sorry. Tell me if the speakers suck.
Today is the day I hope you will donate to support our movement, because the truth is...
The Olympics give us examples of unparalleled athleticism, feats of human flexibility that defy imagination. But there's one man whose superhuman flexibility is unparalleled. That man is J.D. Vance.
Just watch as J.D. Vance flips on his most passionately held beliefs.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I think that he's noxious and is leading
call,
the white working class
That's what I'm talking
to
about.
a very dark place.
Tonight.
And see, this is what I'm trying to say, is we could have conversations. I can have conversations with people that aren't MAGA people. But MAGA is a cult. And it was proven by what they did to Rittenhouse when Rittenhouse said he was going to leave and vote for Ron Paul. It is a cult. And the reason that it's a cult is if you don't believe that the FBI is allowed to investigate Donald Trump, if you don't believe the CIA is consistent or dependable, if you don't believe that the Department of Justice should be allowed to investigate Donald Trump, if you don't believe that the Congress and Senate can pass legislation that is pro-Trump or against Trump, if you don't believe that judges, whether they be on a state level or federal level, can be trusted to hold Donald Trump accountable, then you believe in one person making all the decisions, and that is a fucking cult. If every answer that you have is you only trust Donald Trump, then you're in a cult. That's fucking literally a cult. The Bangladesh leader flees? Is that what happened?
We celebrate he is our once and future president of the
Yeah,
United
DJ, I'm
States
just
of
using it
America.
because it was the last thing that
Unbelievable!
happened.
Do you believe in miracles?
Okay, here we see J.D.
What up,
Vance
AJ?
trying the technically complex and difficult
weird
move
without
of
my hand in my
dodging his
ears.
comments about women.
We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies. As a parent,
God, he's
you
so
should have
mad.
more power. You should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. Of course, for a whole host of reasons, it's not going to work out for some people. We should pray for those people.
Oh, incredible! Just incredible! Can you believe he does all this from the comfort of his couch? Wow! Just wow!
J.D. Vance, the undisputed champion of intellectual
Good job,
dishonesty.
Will. See, we're finding our middle ground. Look, I'll be honest with you. If you were running Nikki Haley, if you ran Ron DeSantis, if you ran fucking Ron Paul, I could sit here and we could literally just talk about policies. And we could just determine which person has the better policies. But Donald Trump doesn't have policies. Donald Trump has ideas, for sure. He has like some fucking really roundabout, crazy ideas about how he's going to cut all the regulations in the United States of America. Even normal conservatives understand that you can't cut all the regulations. That's insanity. We used to have a country that was so polluted that in Chicago, the walls of the buildings were brown. That smog in Los Angeles was so thick that it seemed like fog. There is a middle ground to almost every discussion. And that means that we have to keep our economy going, but we also don't all want to die of cancer. It seems like a pretty logical thing to do, but you can't have that conversation when you're talking about anybody versus Donald Trump, because Donald Trump doesn't have any actual policies. And what Donald Trump wants to do, and you can say Donald Trump doesn't really want to to push forward Project 2025. I don't believe that's true, but I'll allow you if you want to say that. No, he disavowed it. He doesn't want anything to do with it. I'll give you that because it doesn't matter. Because he pushed through Schedule F himself on the way out the door after he had been finally fucking evicted from the White House. He pushed through Schedule F. Schedule F allows him to mass lay off government employees. The idea behind Project 2025 is to use Schedule F to mass lay off government employees. And then they are going to install Trump loyalists all the way from the bottom to the FBI. No person should ever be okay with that. If Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or anybody else that was on the Democratic side ever said that they are going to mass lay off government employees and then install all Democratic people, I would still be against that. That is insane. And that is what Donald Trump wants to do. Donald Trump wants to cut all the regulations, and then he wants to mass fire government employees and put in his own people. That is a unitarian government, and that is literally fascism. It is all of the power rests within the executive, and that should never, ever happen. Every single American should be against that. Democrats shouldn't want Joe Biden to have that type of power. Democrats shouldn't want Kamala Harris to have that type of power. Republicans shouldn't want Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump to have that type of power. And I do believe that real, actual conservatives don't want Donald Trump to have that type of power. Like this is the problem with our current political situation is Donald Trump. It is Donald Trump. And that's why I fight so hard against Donald Trump. Let's see what we got. We got the mic pillow. So this is interesting. So let's play this. I like this debate. I've actually watched this before. I've actually watched this one, so we'll watch it again. But I really like this because this guy in the middle is actually Ken Block, who is paid by Donald Trump to investigate the election results and whether or not they should be taken to trial for the overturning of the election cases. Of course, everybody knows who the fuck this crackhead on the end is. That's Mike Lindell, who believes everything is rigged, everything is fake. He's $1 million into the hole because he spent all of his life savings from selling fucking pillows on trying to get Donald Trump into office. Now, he claims that's not what he's trying to do, but we all know what he's trying to do. So this is actually a really interesting debate because Pacman here has brought on not a liberal, not a Democrat, but a person that literally was paid by Donald Trump to look into the results of the election, and he's going to debate with Mike Pillow here whether or not the election was stolen. So I wanted to watch this one with you guys.
To the program today, Ken Block, owner of Simpatico Software Systems and author 100%. Of Disproven, my unbiased search for voter fraud for the Trump campaign, the data that shows why he lost and how we can improve our elections. And also Mike Lindell, CEO and inventor, founder of MyPillow, known almost just by the single word pillow increasingly in modern society. It's really incredible. Listen, gentlemen, I know that you two have different perspectives on what happened in 2020. And as we think about what may happen in 2024, I think it would be interesting to have a conversation about it. Let me first go because to me, the default is the election was not stolen. So if someone is making the positive case that it was, I think it's fair to start there. Mike, at this point, where do you look? Which state?
And that's actually a really good point on Pacman. For Pacman, there is that our society has gone from the default being the election was not stolen to the election was stolen. And we default to this in everything now. Even what happened with that boxer. It's not the default is innocence until proven guilty. It is guilty. Everything is guilty. When we had the Baltimore Bridge incident, nobody was like, well, actually, the majority of us are still sane. I want to point that out. The majority of people, I believe, are still sane. The majority of people were like, a boat hit a bridge and people died, and that's terrible. But there is a portion of our society that jumps immediately to the most extreme cases. It was domestic terrorism, or it is cyber warfare by the Chinese. Here we are fucking like, what, 4 months later, 3 months later, and guess what? Yes, it was because some dude closed a vent or some shit like that, and it caused a power outage on the ship, which made it run into a bridge, which caused a loss of life, which is fucking horrific, and it is underplayed because of the fact that everybody is on this like kick of thinking that everything has to start out as the most extreme case. I believe that there are things that work their way towards the extreme. I do believe that there is corruption in our government. I do believe that money and lobbying is bad in politics. But we do have to still have a nice foundation to start from that is still sane. And so if you want to talk about whether or not the election was rigged, you need to start with it wasn't and then work your way towards it's rigged. You don't, it's not the other way. It's not the other way around. That's what drives me nuts about today's society.
A conversation about it. Let me first go because to me the default is the election was not stolen. So if someone is making the positive case that it was, I think it's fair to start there. Mike, at this point, where do you look? Which states do you point to? What is the mechanism through which you believe the 2020 election was stolen?
Well, I'm, as you know, since the spring of 2021, I've been all about getting rid of electronic voting machines and going to paper ballots and count. It's all about the election platforms. The 2020 election.
I really love the fact that these people too think that paper ballots are the way, as though paper ballots are just. There's no way. There's no way you can do anything with paper ballots that could possibly rig an election. It's just way harder to do that. Like, I watched that shit in, what is it, Iowa, the first caucus for the Republican Party. I watched the way they do that. They literally wrote on pieces of paper and stuck it in a bag. If that man wanted to, he could literally walk into the back room, throw that shit in the trash, and go, Trump won. Like, it's fucking ridiculous to think that paper ballots are going to stop fraud. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense.
It was just the, I guess, the eye-opener that there was problems with computers throughout our country. And that was everywhere. That wasn't a, I went and bought everybody's voter rolls for the 2020 election. And for example, in the state of Alabama, I went and met with that Secretary of State, and he had 4,600 and some people that voted that were over the age of 110. Now, that doesn't mean they voted for Trump or Biden. That just means there's a problem with our computers, because obviously nobody voted at that age.
Okay, so to focus.
So this is my thing with arguing with these people when they do the conspiracy theory thing, right? Is you have to be up on so many crazy different lanes that it's like, it's mind-numbing, because all I want to talk about, and this guy goes into it a little bit, is that the information has to be verifiable, it has to be quantifiable, and it needs to be repeatable. So I want to be able to see the information that you believe proves what you think, right? I then want to know what it means. So I need to be able to quantify it. So I need to say, what exactly does this mean, and how does it equate to what this person believes? And then I need to be able to repeat your results. I need to be able to come to the same conclusions that you came to by doing the same experiment. And the problem with that when you run into these conspiracy theorist types is that once you start to try to just perform the first step, the verification step, they've already moved on to the second step. So when a person says something like what just Mike Lindell just said, and that is that there's 110-year-old people, there's 8,000 of them, and they've all voted. Well, that's pretty important. That seems crazy. That's kind of weird to hear something like that. So I want to verify it. So once I've verified it, now I want to look into it, and I want to see how they got there, and then I want to repeat the same. And this is what this guy's about to do right here. But the problem with this is that as soon as he does that, it's move the goalposts, move on to the next topic. And at one point or another, you have to say, okay, I thought this thing, but you proved me wrong. I get that. Can we talk about this other thing? And that's not what people do. The other night I was going off about Kyle Rittenhouse, and I was going off about his mom driving him across the state lines. Somebody in chat that was a Trump supporter said that's actually not true. I went and I looked it up. I looked at it and went, oh, actually you're right. It looks like I was wrong about that. My bad. I guess that's why they're not talking about it. And then we move on. But the biggest thing that does not happen in these conversations is people think this is like a game for points, and they're concerned that if they say, oh, actually, it looks like maybe I was wrong about that, maybe can we talk about this other thing instead? I don't know. They just can't do it, and it drives me fucking nuts.
Focus this in a little more because I think we would all agree that the rightful winner of Alabama was Donald Trump, and that had no real impact ultimately on getting to 270 electoral votes. Are there states, Mike, like, for example, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, which you believe were actually won by Donald Trump in 2020?
Oh, yeah, they all were. And when I say they all were, when you have these computers, it's like when you skim off of a casino. You can't just skim one game or even the food or a slot machine. You have to skim them all, or it'll stand out like a sore thumb. As we went into the night of in 2020, got into the early morning hours of November 4th, they stopped everything. That was a deviation. I always look at deviations.
They who and stopped what? Hold on, Mike. They who and stopped what? Just so Ken can respond substantively.
The election officials in all 5 of them states stopped, including North Carolina. They stopped counting. They said, we're going to stop counting. It had never happened before in history. Stop counting, and then we've seen these deviations come down. I'll give an example. One deviation in Michigan would be 106,000 votes came down for Biden and 3,000 for Donald Trump. And they said that was because there was the mail-in votes, when in Michigan they were actually counted on the morning of the 3rd, not in the middle of the night on the 4th. Then you had Pennsylvania.
Well, let's just work with that, Mike. Let's just work with that.
I do want to add one more.
Okay.
And because it stands out so big. Pennsylvania ended up with more votes than voters, which has never been addressed. And it's never been addressed.
All right. Well, let's see if we can address it.
And I want to say something too, and this is something that me and the conspiracy theorists, they don't get. I understand that you believe what you believe. I don't sit here going, this person is lying to me. I actually believe that you believe what you're seeing, that you think this information is 100% correct, it's verifiable, that you're right about this thing. But you can't be correct about something if you are unwilling to be incorrect about it, right? So when you're looking into something, if your default position is I am right and there is no way I'm not going to be right about this thing, there's just too much evidence, there's absolutely no way I'll be disproven on this, then you're never actually going to learn the truth about anything, because you're always entering into a subject with the idea that you're right, and that's absolutism. For me, when I look at something, like I said, to use the same example, that guy said I was wrong. I thought I was right, but I wanted to make sure. I looked it up. I saw I was wrong, and I immediately went, oh, I guess I'm fucking wrong. It doesn't hurt my feelings when I'm wrong. I don't care. I'm like, I'd rather be right, actually honestly correct, than have people tell me I'm right. I want to know that I'm incorrect, so that way when I speak, I have the right information. But the problem with these people is that they're so passionate They care so much about this one subject, and they think they've done so much research that there's absolutely no fucking way that they could possibly be wrong about it, that they don't ever allow themselves the leeway to be wrong. They put themselves way up high on that pedestal, and the fall down from it is too far. It's like life-shattering. They can't deal with it. So, like, I don't think that Mike Lindell, I don't think he's being dishonest at all. I think he really, truly believes the things that he's saying, but you have to be able to address the fact that you might be incorrect. You have to be able to.
Then you had Pennsylvania.
Well, let's just work with that, Mike. Let's just work with that.
I do want to add one more.
Okay.
And because it stands out so big. Pennsylvania ended up with more votes than voters, which has never been addressed. And it's never been addressed.
All right. Well, let's see if we can address it. Ken, Mike's made a number of specific assertions there. They stopped counting the votes. There were lopsided numbers of votes counted. There were more votes than voters in Pennsylvania. How does a guy like you, who was paid by the Trump campaign to look for some of this stuff, how do you react to what Mike says?
Yeah, so some of the claims require context, and some of the claims require proof that I have to take a look at. But I'm going to try and do them in the order in which Mike laid them out, just so I don't lose track of them.
Yeah.
Mike identifies a problem that's a real problem, which is, I like to call it crappy data, for lack of a better word. And he called out Alabama, which, by the way, charges $37,000 for its voter data, which I find—
I know, that's what I paid for.
It's an outrageous thing that they do, and it's wrong all by itself. But at least you can get your data from Alabama. You can't get it from Massachusetts or Indiana or New Hampshire or a bunch of other states. I like to pick on New Jersey when we talk about crappy data. New Jersey has 25,000 voters with a year of birth of 1800. 8,000 of them voted in the 2020 election. But that's not fraud. What it is lousy data. Computer systems, when they don't know what a date is, if they don't have a date, they will default in a date like 1900 or 1800. So it's important to have some context to what it really means when you have voters who are impossibly old. It often means that election workers don't have that voter's date of birth, which by itself is a big problem, because if you don't know when the voter is born, you can't determine when they die.
So that's super interesting.
Yeah, and this is something I talk about on my channel all the time, is he's getting to a point where he's trying to say that there are problems with our elections, but it's not the problems that people like Mike Lindell think they are. This is the same thing I say over and over when we talk about the border, is that when you say dumb shit like that people want open borders, or that you're going to close the border, those are things that don't actually happen. There are real actual complications on the border that should be addressed, but we don't address those complications because instead we have these exaggerated conversations that are super hyperbolic, that have bombastic language, that want to talk about things in this like crazy way instead of having like a real legitimate conversation about what is actually wrong. So anybody that's ever had to input information into a computer, if you've ever had to input somebody's like email into a computer for like a system for like tracking customers or stuff like that, everybody knows that people's handwriting is absolute shit. So you can see if you've ever been in a job like that where you had to take data from a paper and put it into a computer system, why at times you may have these inconsistencies which would default to the computer using certain birth dates, right? So the real question is, what is causing these inconsistencies where the computer is defaulting to these birth dates that are lending to people not having the correct birth dates in the system, which is actually pretty fucking important and needs to be addressed. But you can't address it when crackhead Mike Lindell over here is going, well, they're doing that because it's 110-year-old people that are voting that have been dead forever, because that's never going to get to the actual root of what the problem is. There's lots of stuff that does need to be fixed, and because we have these people that are creating these obscene, insane scenarios to explain why they exist, we'll never actually fix the real problems because we don't get to concentrate on the actual issues.
So on that first one, Ken, what you're saying, when Mike says this number of people over age 110 voted in
Will, the guy in the middle is Ken Block. Ken Block was paid by Donald Trump as a third party to look into voter fraud in the election. So I like this interview, or I like this debate, because he doesn't bring on somebody from the left. He brings on somebody that is a Trump employee, a guy who is employed by Trump to talk from a professional point of view. This is a man that's been doing this for I don't know how many decades, but for a long time. So he has expertise, and he's talking to Mike Lindell, who is the conspiratorial side of it that represents I watched 3 YouTube videos, guys. You know, like that's why I like this interview.
Alabama. What you're saying is, by virtue of knowing these systems, there's some default birth year that's put in there for people for whom they don't have a birth year.
Yeah,
it is a problem, but it's not fraud.
Yeah, exactly.
In the case of New Jersey's data, where all of those voters share the year of 1800 for their year of birth, that's what explains it. If you see 1901, 1900, 1850, more often than not, those are default years of birth.
Okay.
That computers just.
Well, hold on, Mike. You laid out a few.
And here's the thing too. This is a point in the conversation where Mike Lindell, if he truly does give a shit about this, and he's speaking to a professional, should say, that's something that I should probably look into. In fact, I could probably use that to help me prove what I want to prove, so I'll keep that in mind. But instead of doing that, he's already moving on to the next thing. What? Okay, fine, I don't want to talk to you. You're wrong about that, but this is the problem with this thought process, that you're right from the start, and that's your default. You need to have a portion of you still open to information from outside.
Two things. Let's let Len. So that's an interesting one on that, Ken. Fair.
Yeah. So, but I applaud Mike for bringing that up and talking about it, because to have really good election integrity, you can't have it if you don't have all of the necessary identifying information for your voters, and that includes having the date of birth.
Okay.
So, and we could have an entire show just about crappy data, but we're going to
I want to bring up crappy data though.
But wait, Mike, I don't want this to get so lopsided an opportunity to speak. Let's let Ken at least.
This ties right into what this exact thing before he moves on. One of the things he said, okay, when you say data, one of the things I looked at, this is very important, because this is why I'm involved with everything I'm involved in. In November and December of 20.
And you'll notice when people don't have like real information, they use a lot of qualifiers. This is why I'm involved in everything that I'm involved in. This is what I've done. You notice that the guy that's a professional, the guy who has many years of experience in this industry, doesn't use qualifier after qualifier after qualifier. That's what you do when you're insecure. When you feel insecure about what other people think about your knowledge, you tend to use qualifiers over and over again.
2020, I spent every waking hour getting the voter rolls and stuff like he's talking about. Alabama cost me almost $40,000. But one of the things I found in the 2020 election, that people had voted in other states or in other counties they didn't live. Now, I had a hard time believing that people in Minnesota said, hey, there's 5,000 of us. Let's go jump into Wisconsin and vote for Biden. People are genuinely good people. And you had over 5,000 people that voted in Wisconsin that don't live there. And when they don't live there, these are the things. So is that bad data? Or what it is.
Well, that's a new claim, though, Mike. In order to try to keep this, I want to try to move sequentially through the claims. 5,000 from Minnesota voting in Wisconsin is a new claim. So let me go back to Ken. Ken, what about, for example, more votes than voters in Pennsylvania?
So I've heard that claim made before. I haven't seen, when you look at the actual number of votes cast, it's not bigger than the number of registered voters. I've never seen an actual official communication from a Secretary of State's office of Pennsylvania that shows that there were more votes that were cast.
I haven't either.
There are registered voters. So,
and like I said, verifiable. So that's where you're going to start, is verifiable. And what a lot of people will do, specifically in like the conspiracy realm, are going to say things like, you go, okay, well, I looked at this and I can't find anything that verifies it. And they'll go, well, hold on, let me show you this website. And it'll be like somebody's blog. And it'll be somebody who says something like along the lines of, there was 250,000 votes and there's only 200,000 voters. But it's not verifiable. And this is what drives me nuts with talking to conspiracy theorists, is they take conjecture as verifiable information. They say, well, dude, if you just look at how many people said there's 250,000 votes and there's only 200,000 people, that's enough to tell you that it's true. But it's not. Information like voting is verifiable, and people like Ken Block here, once again, who was paid by Trump, not by a liberal, he was literally paid by the Trump administration to do this job, says it's not verifiable. Once you can't complete that first step, there is no moving on to the next two steps. Verifiable first, and if you can't verify it, then you have to move on.
We're not gonna get to the heart of that one here today. But Mike, I'd be very interested in talking to you offline on where you get that data from, so I can go.
It's not the data. It's not the data. It's a fact. You could probably even Google it on the internet. There was over 400,000 more votes than voters. They certified anyway. And as it sits right now, it's about.
And just ask yourself, like sometimes you have to ask yourself, if there was 400,000 more voters, more votes than voters, that's so obscene as far as the statistic goes. That, like he just talked about at the very beginning of this, that you have to do this across all of these states, because if you don't, it looks weird and people are going to find out. And then he makes the claim that something like 400,000 more votes than voters existed. That immediately would be a red flag. You're telling me that all the MAGA Republicans that exist, all the fucking crazy fucking, the Valentina lady, MTG, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, all these people exist, and you would do something as flagrant as have 400,000 more votes than voters. Now, I do think all of those people are fucking dumb, but I don't think they're that dumb, okay? And so that's just like, once again, you get to that point where you go, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, why would somebody, you originally started this by saying you would, lay the totality of the fraud across many states so people can't find it, and then you're going to just do it all in one state? That doesn't make any sense at all.
About 80-some thousand in the 2020 election, more votes than
Names
voters. Like if we walked out of a room, there's 10 of us that voted. It comes back 15-5.
That would be an astonishing fact if it was true. I don't believe it's true, but I want to look.
And look what he just did. This is what I was just saying that Mike Pillow can't do. He's saying, I do not believe that's true. I've looked into it and seen that it isn't true. However, if you have information to dispute what I'm saying, I would be happy to look into it. That is the way you're supposed to go about a conversation like this, and you will never see that person sitting in Mike Pillow's fucking chair, whether it's Mike Pillow or whatever conspiracy theorist that you want to put in his chair. They will never do what he just did.
Look, for sure. I want to talk about the duplicate voter claim because in my work for the Trump campaign, not only did they ask my company to data mine for dead voters, to data mine for voters who were voting twice in two different states. We did this work for the campaign. We found hundreds of provable people who voted twice. And Mike, you used Wisconsin and Minnesota. Was that the
No, absolutely not.
Well, hold on, Mike. Not absolutely not. You said 5,000 Minnesota voters went to Wisconsin.
You're cherry picking. No, you're cherry picking out. I'm giving you examples.
That's what I'm saying, Tia.
You didn't sit here and tell me I had to come with all these sheets if you wanted. I could.
Tia, what Tia just said, if Dems could cheat, on God, McConnell wouldn't have won. Destiny, in his debate with the Voorhees guy the other day, said it best. And the guy goes, well, they rigged the election. And he goes, okay, so why didn't they rig it in 2016? If Democrats hate Donald Trump so much, why did he win in 2016? And they're like, well, they rigged it so he could win. So that way, then they could rig it so that way that he couldn't win. And that's the problem with these discussions. This is why I don't debate these people, is because it's ridiculous. He goes, so you're telling me that when my guy wins, it's rigged, and when your guy wins, it's rigged, but by us, for you? Like, this shit doesn't make any sense. And something that Ken Block points out here, which is actually really important, is that there is small amounts of fraud. It wasn't determined throughout all of those investigations that there was no fraud. No one has ever believed that there's no fraud. It is about whether or not it could impact the actual election and change the results. That's what matters. We also want to get to a point, like in a perfect world, obviously there'd be zero fraud across the board. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. Not until we get everybody on the blockchain. I'm putting all you fuckers on the blockchain, and it's going to be amazing. That's when it's going to change. But, like, he's not saying that there's no fraud. He's saying there are very small amounts of fraud that did not create an equivalency to actually overturn the election or to affect it in any meaningful way.
Hundreds of provable people who voted twice. And Mike, you used Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yeah, Trump literally told him not to use Minnesota. He killed himself. He's always
no. Well, hold on, Mike. Not absolutely not. You said 5,000 Minnesota voters went to Wisconsin.
You're cherry picking. No, you're cherry picking.
Blockchain's a crypto thing.
You didn't.
It's the only good part of crypto, in my opinion, is the blockchain.
All these sheets, if you want,
I'll explain.
No. Present whatever you want.
Every single state in the 2020 election had people vote in that state that did not live in that state. That's a fact. You can check it out, every single one. Now, if you go to a county, at the county level, maybe when I've checked counties, let's say there's 100 people in the county, in my own county, that don't live there that voted. I don't believe that those people actually came in to commit a crime. I believe that their names were taken off the voter rolls. That's all, done with computerized, done with computer.
Mike, you've made the claim. We have to allow Ken to address it. I think I was probably registered in more than one place at some point, which is completely legal. As long as I'm only voting in one place, I think that's fine. Hold on, Mike. Tiffany Trump, for example, I think was registered in two places. She only voted in one.
Vote in two places.
Ken, what about the voting where you don't live? Address voting where you don't live, Ken.
Okay, so there are two outcomes in voting where you don't live. One is you have somebody who lives in Idaho who casts a vote in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one example of a type of situation. The other type of situation is you have someone who takes 2 bites of the apple. They actually vote in 2 different places. Both of these situations happened in 2020. And when people took 2 bites of the electoral apple, they were committing a felony. When somebody lived in one state and voted in a different state, and I evaluated this specific claim for the Trump campaign. They brought it to my attention and they asked me to review it and vet it to see if it was going to survive legal scrutiny. And the claim was that in Georgia, 15,000 people cast votes in Georgia who didn't live there. And while it's true that there were people who cast votes in Georgia who didn't live there, where it gets tricky is a lot of those people were members of the military, and they were serving at Fort Benning, which is one of the largest military installations in the country. More than 100,000 members of the military work there, and they cycle in and out of there all the time. And members of the military are allowed by law to vote where they're serving. So that claim would never have made it very far in the legal system, because that's the only place where these claims matter. If you're going to
yes, and this is something, once again, so a lot of times with people that chatting and stuff, they're like, but what that person did was shady, or I think what they did was suspect. That's all good. That's your opinion. You can feel something is shady. You can say things seem suspect. But I've said this before on this channel, and that there is a certain percentage of evidence that must exist before courts will even see your case. So in the fake electors, all the lawsuits, the 62 lawsuits that Donald Trump and various Donald Trump people like Mike Pillow here brought against the election in 2020, was it 61 of them were tossed out. The one in Pennsylvania was found that potentially the mail-in ballot COVID laws were against the Constitution. It went to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. It then was overturned. So I believe all 62 were overturned, but like 33 of them never even got seen because they did not reach evidentiary points, right? Like there wasn't enough evidence to even bring them into court. So Ken Block here is paid by Donald Trump to make sure that any lawsuit that he is bringing against the state to attempt to overturn the election has enough evidence to make it so that way it might win in court, because it doesn't make any sense to just go around just putting up all these lawsuits that eventually just get tossed out, even though that's exactly what happened, because he probably didn't listen to Ken Block when he said this shit doesn't have enough. So people like Mike Lindell and conspiracy theorist type of people are almost always going to fall back on, it seems weird, it seems shady, it seems suspect. And all of those things can be true. It can seem any one of those things. But if you can't actually provide evidence, and there's a big difference between evidence and proof. Evidence is something that may lead to a verdict. Proof is something that will most likely lead to a verdict. Those things have to add up to a percentage for it to rule in your favor. And somebody like Ken Block here is the type of person that will tell you whether or not it's a good idea to take it to court or not. He did not find those things because of exactly what he's talking about. Because, yes, it seemed shady. And then he looked at this Georgia military establishment and went, holy shit, look at all of these people that are here in this military installation. I bet that accounts for all of those votes. And even if it only accounts for a large percentage of those votes, it's still enough. And this is why people get upset. This is the whole thing with the Hillary's email thing. But isn't it shady that she had a server on? Even if I give you that, even if I say, yes, it seems shady, that's not evidence. Well, isn't it weird that she did this? Yes, even if I give you that, it's still not evidence. The FBI and federal prosecutors have a 97.5% conviction rate for a reason. Because they do not take cases to court that they are going to lose. Very rarely do they ever lose.
Contest an election and you're going to try to get the results overturned in the legal system.
Your feelings are
if the claim isn't going to survive legal scrutiny, it's not a worthwhile claim. In this circumstance, there were more voters identified in Georgia than any other state who didn't live in Georgia but yet cast the vote there. Mm-hmm. And that maps on top of Georgia having the largest military installation in the country.
And just so you guys know, too, I've got the 12 pages of Kamala's W's, Kamala's time in office as a district attorney and attorney general for California, and all the lawsuits that she won for the state of California, including the lawsuits against Corinthian College, the lawsuits against Comcast. I don't know if you guys saw today, but Google lost a huge antitrust. Joe Biden can't stop winning right now. Joe Biden won a huge antitrust lawsuit against Google today, or at least his administration did. And I have a video about Lena Khan, who's on here, who I want to look into because I think she's awesome. But if you guys are interested in being commenters or capable of viewing that document, you should join the Discord. If you join the Discord, you can give me a Gmail and I can make you a commenter, and you can watch the research that I do on Kamala as far as all the stuff that people have said, the 1,500 cases of pot conventions, the DNA evidence that supposedly that she wouldn't allow, all of those things. I debunk them, and I also add all the W's from her with sources, linked sources in the document as well. So I'm working on that. I only get to work on the weekends, but if you're interested in that, join the Discord, and I'll give you commenter access.
In the form of Fort Benning. So,
so like Mike, do you believe when Ken says that? Do you think Ken's confused? Do you think Ken's lying? Because he was paid to find this stuff by the Trump campaign.
Well, I got $30 million in this, David. I paid a little money out too. And here's what we did. I didn't concentrate on Georgia overturning any election. This has been 3 years where we're going, we need to get rid of the electronic voting machines, the computers. Here's what we did. Pick a county, pick any county. I'll pick Carver County, my county. We had canvassers go out. We got the voter rolls from the county, who voted, who was put on the voter rolls, and who voted in the election. We went out and it was usually 6 people or more that says lived in a house. Now, I've lived here all my life. We went down, the canvassers go down, they knock on Amy Schultz or whatever, her house, and say, Amy, you're living here by yourself. It says 7 people here voted. Well, then we look at the names. She goes, no, it's just been me, like always. and we take the 6 people that voted. Now we investigate them. 4 of them live in another state. 2 of them are deceased, okay? So then...
And so once again, we get into the conspiracy theorists and whether or not something is verifiable or not, right? Like, so when a guy says something like this, like, we went to Amy's house and we asked her, did 7 people live here? Like, that's a very hard thing to verify. So you have to be able to, like, show your work, right? Like, it's like in school. You have to show your work. You have to show that I went here, I did this. So really, if Mike Lindell wanted to actually, like, prove his case, he needs to document what he's doing and then list it out and then create a trail of evidence that proves what he's trying to do. But to be honest with you, to attempt to do that on the scale of the United States of America and our voting system is almost impossible. And that's why things like computers are very important. And that's why things like paper ballots are not a great idea. But they'll get into that in a little bit.
We take those 4 and we reach out to them. Did you vote here? No. No, they did not vote there. The people, we contact the people. This is called canvassing, to physically back up what the data is saying. And the data says they voted in that county or that state. I'm not here to tell you something to overturn an election. I'm here to tell you when you
and no one's brought that up, at least yet, Mike.
Right.
Mike, in terms of the view that Ken is presenting, though, like, do you think Ken's just wrong, or he is incompetent and couldn't find the fraud you claim exists? Like, what do you hear when Ken says this?
This has took me 3 years, and we also have a lot of other data to back this up. Under the Freedom of Information Act, we were able to get the cast vote records, which come out of the machines for 1/3 of the United States. So we take the cast vote records, we take the canvassing, the on-ground canvassing, and then we take the voter rolls and we combine all 3, and they all 3 match. No, but the only thing that they match, but the people didn't commit crime. The people didn't go, I'm going to go vote twice. That's not true. You're going to have that. But this is at a massive scale, using names with the dirty voter rolls, like Wisconsin has 7.2 million names on their voter rolls. And if every registered voter voted in Wisconsin, it's 4.1 million. Why do they need?
And the problem with the dirty voter rolls is that we don't have a system that currently exists in a correct manner to remove people from these rolls in a legitimate manner. So what we have is we tend to see that people are being removed from voter rolls that intend to vote. There are tons of people that have went to vote just to find out that they are no longer registered, because in states like Florida, they're removing people from the voter rolls. So once again, you can have a real conversation about what the actual issue with this is without being a conspirator, without saying that everything's a conspiracy. The problem with dirty voter rolls, and the reason that people's names exist on those voter rolls, is because the opposite of that is removing people from voter rolls that ends up with unintended consequences. So you're trying to do the thing that harms things the least. So they're leaving people on those voter rolls because they believe that those people won't intentionally vote in that state, knowing that they've moved to another state, which they feel is better than removing them from the rolls just to find out that they wanted to vote because they still live in that state, and then finding that they can't vote because they weren't registered at the time. Those people then have to register at the time. So this is like, once again, one of those places where conspiracy theorists have the right idea and the wrong argument. And that is that dirty voter rolls are an issue, but the answer isn't to just expunge everybody's names. Like, we have to figure out a better system. But once again, that better system is going to include technology. You can't get around it.
Those other 3 million names.
Okay, that's a good specific question, Mike. That's a good specific question, Mike. Ken, do you think Mike believes this stuff, or do you think Mike's confused?
Oh, I'm confident Mike fully believes this stuff. I mean, he has put his money where his mouth is. I don't think anybody can claim that Mike doesn't fully believe in what he's talking about.
And I believe he believes
so for that reason alone, I give him credit for his conviction for sure. You know, again, I'm trying to flow as we sort of jump from.
It's hard to do
one
so,
thing
yeah.
to another. But what I'd like, and I'm just trying to pick the thing that I think will have the most impact as we talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to talk about electronic voting machines at a high level for a minute. Yes, if you don't protect yourself, you leave yourself open to either external forces hacking those machines or somebody slipping some code in there potentially to alter the count itself, right? There's some nefarious computer hacking things that you can do. There are plenty of protective steps that you can take to minimize and eliminate the possibilities for that. I turn to the casino industry to look for that. You have slot machines, which are individual computers, and I do a lot of work with the gaming industry. You can absolutely ironclad protect yourself from ensuring that the wrong software is not running in your slot machines and making other people rich who are just know how to game the system. You have no proof and there's no realistic outcome where a hand count is going to be more accurate than a machine count.
Yes, because humans are fallible. Like the amount of people that you would need to count this number of votes, just every person that you add into the chain, you are increasing the probabilities of a mistake probably exponentially, to be fucking honest. I mean, you're probably pushing it pretty fucking high. When you have that many people with that much different bias, you have people all across the political sphere, because you would need so many people to count these things by hand. And if you don't understand how good our encryption is, there's a guy, his name's Some Ordinary Gamers, and his actual name I think is Mudahar. He's a huge YouTuber. He's like 15 million or 17 million subscribers. But he was talking about one day the government was selling one of their old supercomputers, right? Like they had moved up and they were selling an old supercomputer that has something stupid like 850 million megabytes of RAM and insane numbers. And he wanted to buy this because he wanted to show people how hard it is to break encryption. How hard, even if you had a supercomputer, when people are running the right types of encryption, it is to actually break that encryption. So the idea that you have on one hand just thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people counting votes versus one computer system that is encrypted to the fucking nines because it's the United States of America's election results, the encryption is going to be much more accurate than the humans ever could be. I don't know how many of you guys have ever had a really monotonous job, but it's easy to lose track of your counting. It's pretty fucking easy.
And I'm just going to let's just talk about Maricopa County in Arizona, because that's been the punching bag for a lot of this.
Yep.
There's about 1.5 million votes cast in Maricopa in 2020. Each ballot that gets cast in Arizona has anywhere from 10, 20, maybe 30 different races on it. So imagine trying to hand count 30 million different vote tallies from 1.5 million ballots. It's a monumental effort, one that's almost certainly going to lead to errors because human beings can't do a repetitive process like that.
And mind you, these are also the same exact people that believe that votes should be counted in one night. Like, how insane is it to think that you're going to have paper ballots, everybody's going to come in on the same exact day, I guess fuck the military, right? Fuck anybody that's out of town. No taking vacations around the beginning of November. If you want to vote, you have to be here on that day. You have to go to a poll. If your car is broken down, fuck you, you don't get to vote. If you have to work that day and can't get the day off, fuck you, you got to vote. Once again, the biggest problem I have with all of these arguments is how reductive they are. These are extremely complicated issues that people want to reduce down to, dude, you just show up on one day, you vote, you count them that night, the next day there's a winner. Boom. It's that fucking easy. I don't understand how anybody doesn't understand this. It's like, dude, it's not even close to that fucking easy.
In general, anywhere near as capably and dependably as a computer to do it.
Well, let's ask Mike if he even would concede that. I'm curious. Mike, do you agree that the machines in general are more accurate at counting than people?
Employees and having them do it.
No, 1,000,000% no. I have met with UK officials, France, Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands, met with them all, and we devised the best hand counting system in the world. It was used in Osage County, Missouri, in an actual election 2 years ago. Democrats, Republicans,
but they don't want to use any technology.
We got done at the same time with the machines with 100% accuracy. Now, Argentina last summer, a judge ruled there, finally said, hey, we got to go to paper ballots, hand counting. They can flip their country over, and they did it in 4 months, faster than the Netherlands, it took 5 months. And Taiwan just did it. Ecuador just did it. All these countries have outlawed machines, computers around the world. The Philippines, they've all outlawed them. We just had, and when you talk about, he's using Maricopa County for an example. In the Kerry Lake race, remember, 242 machines went down at the same time, and that was impossible. They're not tied to the internet, so how could they all go down at the same time with the same exact problem? You watched in Georgia this last fall, an Obama-appointed judge, the curling case, 3.5 years went on. She finally said, you know what? These experts that look.
He just jumps around so much. It's like they're like, look, if you have a really good case for something, you don't need to jump around this much. If you have a really good case for something, you have a focal point that you use, and then you provide the evidence for it. You don't need to jump all over the fucking place. Like, that's why, like, no one takes any of this stuff seriously, is because they have zero ability to just focus on the actual issue and then prove their point. Instead, they have to show there's this giant conspiracy that is pretty much unprovable. That's why I'm right.
Looked inside these machines, say there's problems. We're going to let this case go forward. Haldeman hacked in with a ballpoint pen into the machine and flipped the election, and it's still pending in court right now in Georgia. So you have all these examples.
Mike, there's so much that you're dumping on us that it's hard to keep up with each one of the claims. Even Republicans in Maricopa, to my knowledge, were satisfied that no one was disenfranchised. But, like, Ken, how do you deal with when Mike goes, they all went down, disconnected from the internet, it's all crazy?
So I would ask, have you looked at what it would take to turn Maricopa County into a hand count county?
Absolutely, we have. We've looked at every place in the United States. Remember, we had that prior to 2000. This is what we had, Ken.
Spoiler alert.
You don't know what goes on in those black boxes that are sitting there. We just want a fair election in our community. No matter what that is.
A hand count wouldn't stop somebody from voting somewhere where they don't live.
Yeah, absolutely, but it would stop for a computer where one guy can press and change millions of votes or tens of thousands of votes. Or
but that wasn't the argument.
And see, this is the thing is, he doesn't want to make the argument that people are hacking and doing this, because if he makes that argument, it's verifiably not true. Like, he's actually been proven incorrect about that by a Trump supporter that he still, I don't think to this day, has actually paid, when he stood up there on stage and said that if you can prove I'm wrong, I will pay you, $5 million or something like that. And some Trump supporter not only proved that he was wrong, but also that his data wasn't even from, like, the election that he talked about. It was amazing. God.
You were making for what took place, though, Mike. That wasn't the argument you were making.
100%. I'm saying that people didn't do this. It was done with computers.
What up, Down,
you understand that, David? I'm saying this was the uniparty, deep state, globalist, CCP.
There we go.
People want to know.
It's the uniparty, deep state, globalist, CCP. That's the point in the conversation where I'm just like I said before, with conspiracy theorists, this is how the conversation goes with them. They're like, do you think the government's corrupt? I'm like, yes. Do you think that money in politics is really bad? Fuck yes. They're like, do you think that, like, ultra wealthy corporations and oligarchs are taking advantage of a system to keep you down? I'm like, hell yeah, they are. And then they're like, did you know that they're all serpent people? And I'm like, God damn it. Fuck. God damn it. That we have reached that point in the conversation where we just start using buzzwords.
So who did this? Okay. And yes, it was computers that were used.
It was computers. Okay.
Do you know who Tony Fabrizio is, Mike?
No.
He's Trump's pollster. He paid Fabrizio tens of millions of dollars every election, 16, 20. I'm sure he's polling for him now.
Right.
He exit polled 30,000
right, Tia?
swing state voters and asked them who they voted for and why. And what he learned and what he published in a report that everybody can see on Politico.com is that 1 out of 6 of the 30,000 voters his people interviewed were Republicans who ran away from Trump. 1 out of 6.
So,
Another 1 out of 6 who voted were first-time voters motivated to vote against Trump. And interestingly, in 2016, 1 out of 6, roughly 1 out of 6 exit polled voters were motivated for the first time to vote for Trump. So Trump motivated a lot of people to vote for him in 16. And in 2020, I think because of COVID in particular, according to Fabrizio. So what Fabrizio is basically saying is the election was lost largely because rhinos, in effect, didn't vote for Trump after Trump told them to take a long walk off a short pier.
Yeah, and this is why people think that MAGA people are weird, okay? To be 100% with you, this is why they think they're weird. This is why I think they're weird. Because the reality of the situation is that Donald Trump told people, don't vote by mail. It's all rigged. There was tons of people that were like, I'm not going to vote because it's all rigged anyways. There's tons of people right now, conservatives, that Donald Trump is pissed off by talking shit about Brian Kemp, who is the governor of Georgia, who has a 63% approval rating. Donald Trump is the reason that Donald Trump keeps losing, and Donald Trump is the reason that conservatives continue to lose. You can't go full conservative Heritage Foundation Project 2025 on people. When I was talking to the guy who was suing Trump, I was talking to John Anthony Castro. It's one of the first interviews I did on this channel. He brought up a really good point. I asked him what he thought about today's political polarization and what he thought the cause was. And he said, Democrats want to slam the pedal of gas for progress to the floor. They want to go full bore towards progress. And that scares the shit out of Republicans. He goes, and what Republicans want to do is they want to apply the brakes, if not put it in reverse, which scares the shit out of progressives or liberals. And he said the best possible thing you can do is to feather the gas. If you want progress, you want to do it in a way that is capable of making the other person feel comfortable with the progress. So the same thing goes for conservatives. If you really were a person that was like, hey, traditional family is my thing, no-fault divorce seems like a bad idea, whatever, abortion, in my opinion, is really bad, the things that you wouldn't do is complete ban on abortion, no exceptions. The thing that you wouldn't do was create a no-fault divorce state where people are unable to get out of marriages, except for in the most extreme cases, right? Or you wouldn't try to do all those things at once. You would feather the gas. And what Donald Trump does is Donald Trump is surrounded by sycophants that all want to say the same things that the Heritage Foundation people are saying, because they know that appeals to the most absurd extreme people. That's why you have this pushback in the conservative party right now against Trump, where Trump wants to attack Kamala as being a non-black woman, as being a woman, as being a DEI hire. He wants to insult her, and you have conservatives right now that are going, stop, don't do that. This is going to get us fucked. Because when he was running against Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is an old white man, he could talk all the shit he wanted to. Everybody didn't care that he was talking shit about an old white man. But what you can't do in this area, in the United States of America, in this area of time, this specific area of time, is attack a black woman for being a thought, or being a DEI hire, or being not black. You can't do that, because you are going to piss off people that probably wouldn't have ever voted before, that are like, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna vote for her now because you're an asshole. And even conservatives were like, stop. And Donald Trump doesn't know how to do anything better. Or do anything different. Donald Trump probably looks at those guys and goes, okay, sorry. And he gets an interview with somebody and they're like, so about Kamala, DI, she's not even a black lady. He can't help himself. I've said this over and over again. Donald Trump is Donald Trump's worst enemy because I don't even give the credit that most progressives or liberal people will give to Donald Trump, that he's a malfeasant, that he's malevolent. I think he's just a fucking idiot. I do not think he's a very smart person, and I think he makes huge mistakes that are both detrimental to him and the Republican Party. And that's all this guy's trying to explain, is that even his own guy, Fabrizio, in the exit polls, confirmed that Republicans didn't vote for Donald Trump. Like, it's simpler than they're making it out to be.
Where's your question here? Where's your question?
Well, so what I'm giving you is some hard evidence that
that's not hard evidence. That's not hard evidence. Well, let me see. Who is this guy? I don't get to see what his poll. I give you hard evidence. You say, well, let me look into it. I don't see it. I don't know this guy.
You should look into it. If you Google Fabrizio.
What's the question?
Well,
what's the question?
I believe that so I have 3 data points for you. The first one is his poll, which identified that the reason for the loss was the loss of Republican support from Republicans in the middle. Raffensperger, who I know you don't give a lot of credence to, but he identified 30,000 Republican primary voters in 2020 who didn't vote in the presidential election. And another 30,000 votes were cast in Georgia in 2020, where all the down ticket Republicans received a vote, but the presidential race was left blank.
There you
go. The margin of victory, as we all know, was just under 12,000 votes in Georgia. When I looked at county level statistics from every county in the country, and you look at red states and you look at blue states and you look at red and blue counties and purple counties, on average, when you look at Trump's share of the vote as a percent of all the votes that were cast, Trump did about 2.5% less well across the country.
Yeah, and that's because he's polarizing. If you go on Twitter right now and you find somebody that supports Kemp, so this is the way the algorithm works on Twitter. If you go on a Republican, a normal conservative person's Twitter, and you comment on their page, you'll start to see more conservatives that dislike Trump because of his polarization. Because a lot of conservatives right now aren't as concerned about Trump losing this race as they are concerned about losing future races, losing governors, losing senators, losing congresspeople. That's what they're concerned about, because they see something that none of the MAGA Republicans can see, and that is by being this polarizing, by being so fucking base that what you do is you refer to your political opponent as being a DEI hire or being not black, that actually turns off even conservative voters, where they're like, you know what? I'm voting for Brian Kemp. I'm voting for Raffensperger. I'm voting red down the ballot, and I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump, and I'm not going to vote for Kamala either. That's what's going to happen. If you don't see many conservatives voting for Kamala, because to be honest with you, a prosecutor should be a fucking conservative's wet dream.
In 2020 than he did in 2016. This is my data. 2020 than he did in 2016.
That's right.
Exactly, Alan. He thought it was over at midnight, and that's
right.
so
Mike's
basic.
argument is this was done in every state to hide the states where it mattered.
Everywhere. Exactly.
Well,
you just validated it for me.
So that's bananas. And the reason I say it's bananas
you can say that.
Is because, first of all, most states have different voting systems than every other state, and many times counties have different voting systems. So to have a consistent
What do you mean? What do you mean different voting systems? Do you know that all the computers that they run off a thing called GEMS, and ES&S is the biggest computer company in the country that runs our elections?
Dude,
out of Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, I gotta ask, what do you guys think? You guys think he's back on the crack? Because he's looking pretty cracked out. I mean, I've known some previous crackheads, and I know they hold on to some of the mannerisms and stuff. There's a lot of hand movements and head movements and shit. But what do y'all think? You think he's back?
They're the biggest machine company.
Totally
they haven't sued me yet. I wish I'll pile them right on the pile because which would be fine. I want to ask you this. Let me ask something here. How do you explain? Let's talk about crooked Brad Rassenberg. If you're a Democrat in Georgia and you plan on winning, for me, this isn't about Democrats or Republicans or Donald Trump. My whole life, since the spring of 21, that Jimmy Kimmel asked me, Mike, if the shoe was on the other foot and Donald Trump was selected like you say Biden was, would you still be sounding the alarm? And I said, yes, I would. And everybody knows I would. It doesn't matter. I think it's a blessing that Donald Trump did take it.
Some
what
legal
we've learned
drugs.
Now in the last 3 years.
Smoking broken windows.
Georgia, in the summer of 22, 3 Democrats, this nice lady, her and her husband got 0 votes in her own precinct. Now how do you explain that? You can't.
Dude,
work directly with T. Rowe Price, and together we can find the right investment.
My question for Ken: how do you explain? I'm here to tell you that this was in every state. It was in every state, every county, and you're saying, well, they have different systems. No, they don't. They all run off gems. ES&S, we have the same ballot images that came out of Mesa County, Colorado, that came out of Smartmatics.
So once again, though, and this is like the flat Earth thing. This is like the fake moon landing shit. The number of people that would have to be on board in the conspiracy that to overturn the election for Joe Biden, not to mention these are swing states. These are states that have like Republican governors or Republican senators or Republican Congress people. They have Trump judges. Like there was tons of these cases that were heard by judges that were appointed by Donald Trump because he appointed so many judges. Like you would have to have an insane amount of people all on the same page, all in agreement, that all can keep the same secret. And the only person that has figured this out is Mike Lindell. This is where you lose me, man. Like, I'm all for, like, listening to shit. And I've said this before, actually, is that the silver lining to all this shit is that actually I have more faith in our electoral system now. Like, Donald Trump went through our electoral system with a fine-tooth comb, and I thought that we would find much more corruption. I thought that we would find much more fraud. And the fact that they found fraud and corruption makes me feel good that they were able to actually, like, fucking investigate and find that shit. But I actually thought for sure, like, it was way more corrupt, way more fraud. And I actually feel more, I actually feel better about our election system because of this.
How does he explain it? How does he explain it is the question.
No, I'm explaining to you because if they're on the internet, they're all horizontal.
Does Mike explain how bisexual elements count in bad data?
Their owners were with me at a Senate hearing in Louisiana.
I want to hear Terrence Howard.
Are your machines more secure than Dominion's? They said absolutely not. They all have back doors. They're all hackable. Now,
Leland, any fraud and corruption is bad. You should not feel good. Saying that there will ever be no fraud or no corruption at all is claiming that we are not human beings. What I'm saying when I say that it makes me feel good, I mean that they actually investigated it and found it. I'm not saying, oh, dude, it's really good that there's corruption and fraud in our system. You can't fucking possibly believe that's what I fucking meant. You have to be bad faith about that. You know that what I am saying is that I'm glad that they investigated it and found it. Jesus Christ, there's no fucking way you're being that bad faith about this.
They're horizontal hackable. Just because I have a computer and my kilo, one's at Dell and one's at Apple, they can be connected through the internet. Guys. Okay.
So Ken, how do you explain that, I guess?
Yeah.
No, Joe didn't win because of that, Leland. Jesus
I'm dealing with a lot of moving goalposts here. So
yeah, I know.
This is Trump's dude.
I'm struggling with trying
he was paid by Trump.
Keep up.
He's
and to,
telling
again,
you you're wrong.
Trying to do something productive in what we talk about. So
let me frame it this way, Ken.
Let me say this. I have two things to say. The first one is
no. They wanted him died him 7 years ago. It's really before
difficult and frustrating to bring out
before he asked.
Pretty hard facts, like I just did with Raffensperger's facts, Fabrizio's facts, my facts, and they're sort of brushed off. And what you're presented with are more hearsay type things that don't necessarily have the solid evidence, recreatable evidence that you need to survive legal scrutiny that you have to have. And the story that I'll tell you is that in my engagement with the Trump campaign, which started off with just find us the dead voters, find us the people who voted twice. And what the lawyers who I reported to quickly appreciated that we really understood what we were doing and that we were thorough. And they asked us to start performing their due diligence on the claims of voter fraud that were pouring in from all over the country. And we did that. And we were asked to basically vet each claim. And if it stood up and would survive legal scrutiny, they were going to go to court with it. If it didn't stand up, they weren't going to take it to court because they didn't want to be involved with false claims and bringing forward bad data into court.
There you go.
We looked at 20 claims from across the country. Every one of them was false, oftentimes because whoever did the analysis didn't fully understand what they were looking at, a claim of 750,000 duplicate votes cast in Wisconsin. Well, they missed all the online votes, all the in-person votes, and that was the difference. We had a whole bunch of claimed duplicate votes, deceased votes, where people matched on names and addresses and dates of birth and said, hey, it's a match, it's got to be the same. Well, it's not the same guy, and it usually isn't much more than it is. And some of the claims were just bonkers out the gate.
And here you go. For all the conspiracy theorizers, this man had every reason, just like all the grifters that are around Donald Trump, to just agree with Donald Trump, to fabricate evidence, to create for himself a position in Donald Trump's regime. Everybody knows if you're a loyalist to Donald Trump, you are good to go. Ask Mike Lindell. If Kenneth Block, I think is his name here, who was paid by Donald Trump's administration to look into this evidence and to find voter fraud, wanted to set himself up for life, all he had to do was fucking lie. All he had to do was fabricate data and find fraud. And instead, he did his job, and he went to him and he said, hey, it looks like this is what I've got for you. If this is the stuff you think you should take to trial, that's on you, but I wouldn't do it. And they said, thank you for doing your job well. You know who thanked him? Lawyers. Lawyers that aren't Rudy Giuliani. Lawyers that aren't Kenneth Chesebro or Jenna Ellis or Sidney Powell or Eastman. People that still want to have their license later on because they didn't want to bring to court lawsuits that had no actual evidence and no chance of actually being won. If you are a conspiracy theorizer and you're just like, he's obviously in the pay, he did these things. No, he had every reason, financially speaking, to find fraud, to agree with Donald Trump. And he did not. And he did not.
And would never have survived because they had no data behind them at all, nothing recreatable, hearsay evidence, which no judge in the country is going to allow, right? So that's what we dealt with in November of 2020, and I was up pretty much the whole month as well, Mike.
Right on.
Dealing with all that.
With the hand-picked Supreme Court, exactly, Sal.
You know, it's hard to have a conversation where, you know, you're looking at it, you're trying to deal with it scientifically, you're trying to deal with it with credible, recreatable evidence. And one of my favorite saying is actual fraud is detectable, verifiable, and quantifiable, right? You got to have those three pieces in order to be able to bring...
Detectable, verifiable, and quantifiable. Detectable, we can find it, okay? We found it. Verifiable, it is correct. Quantifiable, what it means. Like, what does it mean to the case? What can it bring to this case? If you are trying to go to a court and the level of evidence has to be more likely than not, then it has to be 51% or more. So in a jury or a judge's eyes, you have to have evidence that reaches 51% or more. When he says quantifiable, he wants to know exactly how much this adds to a case and its plausibility and whether or not it would be found in for you. There's nothing wrong with going about things in this way. This is the way you should always go about things. If people were capable of doing things the way that conspiracy theorists want to do it, but doesn't it seem shady? Isn't it weird? How crazy is it that all this stuff exists? No one would ever win a court case. Believe me, if you want to try, go ahead, get a conspiracy theorist, pay him your fucking life savings, like Mike Lindell here is doing, and have them represent you in court. And see how much a jury or a judge quantifies your evidence of it seems weird, it seems shady, just trust me, bro. All of those things. See how that works out for you. I dare you the next time you commit a crime or you have a lawsuit against yourself to pay all of your fucking life savings to a conspiracy theorist. You believe all this shit? Put your money where your mouth is. Next time, get you a conspiracy theorist. See how that shit works out for you in court.
Data into court successfully and not get bounced out on your rear end. So, that's really where I came at from it. And look, I believe strongly
you need to be a little more specific.
We can and should be doing much better. I'm not so much focused on the actual execution of collecting votes on election day as I am on voter registration, the dirty data that sits around all of that sort of stuff. Right. I believe we can and should do it much better than we do. And I think that's the most productive place for everybody to turn on.
And this is like every time that I have somebody come in here and wants to talk about the border, every time that somebody wants to come in here and talk about any of these things, there are much better, more productive conversations that can be had about every single one of these things, whether it's election integrity or the border or transgenders in sports, all of these things. Every one of these fucking topics, you can have much better, more productive conversations, but you can't do that until Donald Trump goes the fuck away, because he is literally using your own polarization, your own extreme views against you to vote for him. You need to be capable of having conversations about things. If you can't do that, if it's all just trust me, bro, if it's all just do your own research, bro, you're never going to have a good conversation about these things. And one day, I fucking hope so much. I've only been doing this a year, so I still have time. I have a hope, a dream, you could call it, of having real, actual, intelligent conversations about things that really do exist. Not just trust me, bro, conversations. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Our attentions to try to increase our election integrity moving forward.
Mike, I've got a question for you, and this might require a little soul searching. I just want let me get the question out, and then you can take it wherever you want.
Okay, all right.
You had, at least for a period after the 2020 election, what we might call access to the former president, Donald Trump, at least to some degree, if not direct.
Leland, if you're asking me what in this video I have determined that this man has told me has accounted for fraud, he said that in every one of these cases, there seems to have been duplicate voting. There seems to have been people that, whether or not they did it on purpose or not, had voted in 2 different states. It seemed to be that there were people that had voted that were out of state into a state. All of these things seem to have happened on a much smaller scale than anybody believed it in the Trump administration to be. He did believe that these things did happen. He also pointed out that there were people that supposedly were over 100 years old that voted, but he said that is determined because of errors in computer systems that default to like the year 1900 as birth dates when you don't have people putting in the correct birth dates into the system. He just pointed out that when people say that dead people are voting, that a lot of times the reason that people say that is because it's a person with the same name and the same birth date that live in the same county, and they go, there's no way that 2 people could have the same name and the same birth date. But yeah, it does actually fucking happen. And he does prove that it did. Once again, this is the man that was paid by Donald Trump to do this investigation. So there was fraud, and he did find it. But it was not in amounts that allow for the overturning of the election. That it does bring up questions. It does mean that we should have a productive conversation about how to make it more legitimate, more watertight. But it does not result in the overturn of the election and Joe Biden losing. And that's what makes you guys sad. That's what like you guys should be able to accept that the guy tells you that there's fraud and that that's bad and that you want to do something about that. but that it did not result in enough fraud to overturn the election. And you should be able to say, okay, but I still believe there's fraud, so I think that we should do something about that. Then we can have productive conversation. But if your whole thing is, the answer always has to be, there was enough election fraud to overturn the election, therefore Joe Biden shouldn't be the president, then you're never going to have a productive conversation, because nobody has ever found enough fraud to overturn the election, or else they would have.
Directly, it seems to be reported, at least indirectly. Why do you think that the guy who had the biggest incentive to find the most direct path to identifying the fraud, why did he take Ken's word for it rather than yours, if the case you're making is so convincing?
Angela, there is a place in the Golan Heights that was annexed by Israel in the war against Syria, the 6-day war. They annexed the Golan Heights. No one recognized that as Israel's territory because of the fact that they knew that it would inflame the Middle East. Donald Trump now has a sign that says Trump Heights in the Golan Heights because he accepted the annexation of Israel. If you think for one fucking second that Donald Trump didn't cause unrest in the Middle East, you have never fucking read a single thing about it, or you're just trolling me.
Convincing.
You know, David, you'd have to ask him that, but I will say this is I look at the 2020 that it didn't get overturned back then because I believe we would have lost our country forever if it would have been flipped back to Donald Trump.
That is conjecture.
And I say that with all sincerity because of so much we have found over the last 3 years. And so now we can be proactive. You fix things like my company.
Like if you, Leland, were able to, this is the problem, once again with conspiracy theorists, is once again, you are taking a poll and you're saying that there's a 12% of all voters that said that they would vote, but it's not 12% of all voters. It's a poll. And is it statistically probable? Sure. But is it provable? No. Once again, like you said, it has to be detectable, verifiable, and quantifiable. Do I think that it could have influenced the election? Of course I do. I think that there's a million things that could have influenced the election. There's tons of stuff about Donald Trump. Do you think that Donald Trump, the 34 felonies against him were 100% legit? Because if you think that the laptop influenced Joe Biden's election, then you should also agree that the stories about Donald Trump and his affair with a porn star, which he paid to have covered up, which was verified by his friend David Pecker, a guy that is still friends with him. If you believe that, then you also believe that Donald Trump shouldn't have won the original election in 2016 either. You must be consistent.
In 2012, we took in $100 million, but we were $6 million in the hole, employee-owned company, but we learned from that. We pulled it all in house. We took apart what went wrong, deals that went wrong, betrayal, all these things, and by the way, if you want to help my company today, you can use promo code David or Batman. The last time I was on your show, they all wanted a deal. But I will say this, is my company, you know, we've been attacked by all these machine companies and...
No, they defended themselves against him. That's what happened. Okay, when he says he's been attacked by these companies, he made claims. This is a lot like having a law firm. Like if I had a law firm and Mike Lindell went around telling people that I was a shitty lawyer that made up evidence, lost a bunch of cases that I don't talk about, and defrauded my clients. And then I sue him, and he's like, he's attacking me. No, Mike Lindell is attacking companies, and then they are defending themselves by bringing lawsuits of defamation against him. That is what's happening.
You kind of wonder, why are they still attacking me now when obviously we're not going to overturn the 2020 election? I quit. That ship sailed a long time ago. I'm going, this opened the crack going, hey, we've got...
But Leland, that's why that New York case was so fucking crazy. Was because Alvin Bragg, I didn't give Alvin Bragg credit. If you watch my older videos, I say throughout the beginning of all of this shit, when that first indictment came out, I was like, why are we doing this? This is stupid. No way he's winning this. There's no way he's going to convince a jury that Stormy Sanders and Michael Cohen are capable, Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen are witnesses that anybody should believe. And then Alvin Bragg blew my fucking mind with his abilities, because he brought in and set up that trial in the perfect way, because he knew that the jury would call into question whether or not Stormy Daniels or Michael Cohen were people you should listen to. So he set it up by bringing in Hope Hicks. He brought in David Pecker. He brought in the accountant, the banker, all the people that work for Donald Trump. Hope Hicks sat on that stand and cried because she still loves Donald Trump, but she didn't want to perjure herself, so she told the truth. He set up Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen to tell their stories because the foundation was built by people that Donald Trump still trusts to this day. That was phenomenal. Phenomenal as far as a lawyer goes. And the reason that Donald Trump continues to lose, and I talked to a UCLA law professor about this, Richard Abel. I asked him, I said, why does Donald Trump continue to pick these bonehead lawyers? Is it because no one wants to lose their law license because he wants them to do this crazy shit? Is it because of the crazy shit he wants them to do because he hopes for mistrials? That's what he did in the one in the civil fraud case. He literally wanted his lawyers, Alina Habba, to do crazy shit to cause the judge to freak the fuck out so he can ask for a mistrial. Take a look at what's going on in that fraud case. He has tried to overturn it multiple times based off of the judge's actions because he tried to instigate those actions from those people. And what Richard Abel said to me was, he said, in my 40 years of teaching law, I would never tell one of my students to do this, but I do believe that Donald Trump picks his lawyers based on their looks. Donald Trump picked bad lawyers, and he faced good lawyers. Jack Smith, amazing lawyer. Alvin Bragg, amazing lawyer. Letitia James, amazing lawyer. Those cases were set up in a way that is like fucking watertight. That's the way our judicial system works.
Got some serious problems, and it's with these computers. And what I'm doing now, being proactive, we're going to request that everyone in the country at Lindellplan.com that they go there and they request their mail-in ballot. Even if they're going to vote earlier or day of, they request their mail-in ballot. Then if they get there whenever they vote and they say, I'm sorry, you've already voted, now we have evidence that everybody can understand. Do you agree, Ken, that would be identity theft? If I got there and someone said, I'm sorry, Ken, you've already voted.
I don't know if that works, Mike. I'll let Ken address it, but it seems that if you request such a ballot but don't turn it in, you're still allowed to vote on Election Day. So, Ken, would that be the ironclad way to find fraud that Mike thinks it is?
You have to, now you're dealing with the rules and regulations that every state and sometimes every county puts on top of, and that's one of the.
And so this is one of the arguments I have with people when we talk specifically about how people want to always say it just needs to be, everything needs to be states' rights. So this is the conundrum that people don't understand when they make that argument. Everything should be states' rights. Okay, then you have the type of complicated electoral system that we have. Because if you say everything is states' rights, then we're going to have different rules in different states for different things, and you're going to have to be okay with that. That means that in California, if California says, we don't want to have any IDs at all. By the way, I live in California. You do have to present an ID to register to vote. I do not have to present my ID when I send my ballot in. However, they check my signature. But you could have that. Hypothetically speaking, you could say, you guys think liberal California is the Satan of the United States of America. You guys think the worst, which is fucking retarded, okay? California is amazing. But let's say the things you believe are right, and we would just go, you know what? Fuck it. No more license, nothing. Let everybody vote. Well, you would have to be okay with that. That's one of the reasons that you can't have everything just be states' rights. There has to be continuity in certain places like this. And in my opinion, having continuity throughout the states as far as how elections are done, how people are registered to vote, how they vote, all of those things I actually believe should be on a federal level, because I do believe that there should be enough continuity that you don't have all these weird different scenarios throughout the United States of America.
One of the things that makes giving an answer here very difficult to do because you're probably going to be wrong in some places. Generally speaking,
I heard that he told her something about dropping a bear off in the woods.
If you have requested a mail ballot, you are expected to turn that mail ballot in with you when you go to vote in person.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. And if they say you've already voted, then you can say, no, I haven't. It's right here in my hand. That's what we're saying. It's a very easy way to say if there's something wrong. If my name was used, I'm protecting my name from the voter rolls.
Yep.
They can't use my name because this happened in the 2020, especially the 2022 election in some places. In Democrats in Kansas were getting their votes were getting flipped to Republican in Kansas. And my teams were on the ground. And I said, you know what? They couldn't say, you've already voted. And I said, they say, no, we haven't voted. But having that mail-in ballot in your hand, that's kind of a good evidence. But no, I haven't. It's right here. And
let's talk about the mail-in ballots a little bit, and then we're going to kind of be getting to the last thing here. Mike, I saw a video where you seemed a little bit rattled after Donald Trump did a 180 from the 2020.
Yeah,
this is total fraud, even though he voted by mail. Mail-in is bad, early is bad, absentee is bad. Then Trump, I think, realizing that he needed to say something different. This year, he said, vote however the hell you can. I saw a video of you, Mike, where you seemed quite rattled and suggested sort of that it is this backdoor way to find the fraud or whatever. Bottom line, Mike, and then I want to hear from Ken. Do you believe that absentee vote by mail and early voting inherently increase what you define as fraud?
You absolutely, you should vote same day, and ideally same day. Paper ballots, hand counted, precinct level. I have said that. I will never get off. It's hard for.
And once again, you could take some of this, but that is not, like I said. What are you going to do about the military? What did I say? What are you going to do about people on vacation? What are you going to do? Not every citizen in America is going to drop everything they have to do. Somebody said earlier, making the voting day a national holiday. I'm 100% for that. It should be a federal holiday. It should be paid. People should be encouraged to vote. I agree with that 100%. It's still not going to solve people voting on that day. You need early voting. You need absentee voting. You need military being able to vote from overseas. Of all the people in our country, the military deserves the right to decide who the president of the United States is going to be. These are people who have literally signed onto the dotted line that they are willing to go anywhere that the president of the United States decides to send them. If there is anybody in this country that deserves the vote more than anybody else, it's probably those people. Just saying.
For them to steal that day. Now, when I'm going, well, the RNC and all of them came up and the president, they said, well, vote any way you can. We're going to, too big to rig is what he called it. Now, too big to rig. I'm saying that people are going to do that. This is what I'm encouraging people to do. At least protect your name.
Exactly.
Get that mail-in ballot. Get your ballot so that you have it. And then when you go to vote in person, maybe you can't vote the day of, but you go vote in person. And if they say you've already voted, they're going to download them to my app, which is Frank Social, my election app. And we're going to take all this evidence.
You've got an app for everything, Mike.
Absolutely. We got, this is where my thing is. I want to help save our country.
Okay. Which is funny to say that after what DJ just said. You have an app for everything. So it seems as though you think technology is completely usable and perfect for everything except this one thing where the dude you wanted to win didn't win, who then went through one of the most insane. I literally have 8 pages of notes on the fake electorate scheme, and I'm not even done yet. The fake electorate scheme was insane. Almost comical, to be fucking honest with you. The dude, Jack Willichink or whatever his name is, I'm probably messing up his last name, where he sent the email where it said we need to stop calling our electorate the fake electorate and start calling them the alternative electorate, and then he put a smiley face emoji on the end. It's comical. It's comical. I can't remember if it's Eastman or Chesbrough. No, it's Eastman. It's the Eastman memos, where he lines out the different steps for Mike Pence to overturn the election results. What he should do. It's like a choose your own adventure book. It's who the fuck thought it was a good idea to conspiracize in emails to each other. This is only old people. Like maybe somebody like myself would send an email with my nefarious plans in it. Some of the dumbest shit ever.
Okay, but so your answer to this question...
Whether you are David Pakman or Mike Lindell, whatever you're at in politics, remember, I never was a Democrat or Republican. I was an ex-crack cocaine addict. I had never voted in my life.
I gotcha.
So
Mike, so your answer is yes, the mail-in leads to fraud, but protect yourself by requesting your mail-in ballot. Ken, systemically, is there evidence that anything other than voting on election day in person increases what we define as fraud in elections?
So it is a fact that it's harder to commit voter fraud voting in person than it is voting by mail, where you do so anonymously and in a great many states without showing any real identification that really helps everybody ensure that the person who cast the vote is the person who should have cast the vote. Looking at voter, see, to me, if we're talking about something we can do to fix the biggest problem we have in elections, I think the biggest problem we have is that we have 50 different states doing voter registration 50 different ways, oftentimes not coordinating with each other, doing it differently, doing it poorly in a lot of cases, and some places do it better than others.
Good
right?
job, Levon.
I think we should have a federal voter registration, one place. If you do it that way, we don't have the mistakes of 50 people.
And this is why I know people are gonna just not agree with me on this one, but I'm gonna say it anyways. You guys unsubscribe. But this is why I seriously think. So we did a podcast. Me and my wife during COVID had a podcast, so that way we could make more time to like talk to each other. And we had a podcast where we talked about cryptocurrency because it was like real big during COVID. Everybody became crypto people, right? And looking into crypto, we were trying to make the decision about whether or not like we thought that like the digital dollar would actually replace the physical dollar. And I came away from that the best thing about cryptocurrency isn't cryptocurrency. The best thing that comes from cryptocurrency is blockchain and the Internet of Things. And I felt like the best thing that people could do, the most like secure thing that people could do, is to have themselves exist on the blockchain. So like anybody that has like a doctor knows that if they ever change their doctor, there's always this big issue of when you change from one doctor to the other about getting your files and getting your medical history. And there's tons of stuff that gets lost, actually. Like you move on to your next doctor, you have to go through all this new blood work, you have to do all these new tests and things like that. And I've always said, like, if you had a number on the blockchain that represented who you were as a person, you could then go to another doctor. They could be given access to your records on that blockchain, which only exist for you because it traces it back through the blockchain to your pre-existing square. And you could also do this with voting, to where if you were to go to vote, and when you voted, if it told you could not vote because someone had accessed your information, you could report that. I think that something like blockchain would actually be incredibly secure if it is done in the right way, obviously, and encrypted really strongly, and if we had follow-ups to it, like being able to report it to systems and stuff like that. So in my opinion, I think what he's saying about it is a really good idea because, once again, I think here in a second, My Pillow Guy makes the hacking argument again, but I don't think that people understand. I only think I finished this earlier, but Mudahar was saying he wanted to buy the supercomputer to show people how hard it is to break encryption. How hard, like, everybody thinks that you can be hacked in any way, shape, or form. It's so easy. But it actually is very, 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 very hard to break, like, top-level encryption. It's insane. Even our own government can't do it. That's why they have to ask, like, Apple for access to Apple phones and stuff like that. Breaking into those phones is incredibly hard. So that's what I think. I think that we should be moving forward with technology, getting away from paper ballots, and instead moving to something that's like easily verifiable for every single person. Something where you would be able to look at your blockchain number and say, oh, it says right here I voted Republican. I didn't vote Republican. I voted Democrat. That's bullshit. I want to report it. I think that would be amazing. It also add a paper trail of sorts to who did it. as well.
Right? We don't have any of that problem. And if you do it federally, you now have an identifier that everybody would have to use when they vote by mail.
You don't like that idea, though, Mike.
Because it's a stock.
No, that would be insane.
It's literally
That's probably
just
the most insane idea. We need to decentralize it down to the precinct level where you're down to your own community, where you know you see yourself vote. That's what needs to be done the way it was before. Sometimes the best things are done by hand, and you know the people at that level. You do it at the federal level. Now you have one machine. It's just like all of our UACAVA votes now. All of our UACAVA votes are done by mail-in. There's no IDs whatsoever. This is our military. We have places like in Idaho or in Utah where they try texting in your vote and texting or emailing in your vote. Now, come on. You have a federal thing there, and you're going to trust one person now on these computers. Okay, we're supposed to trust that. Why not trust in our own backyard at the precinct level and do it at that level?
What about that, Ken? What about the single point of failure of that?
Yeah, because, like, dude, seriously, just imagine this. I'm a Democrat. I think democracy is over if Donald Trump wins. I live in a place that's pretty red, right? Let's say that. You bring me in your paper vote, you hand it to me. You walk out, I throw that shit in the trash. It's not like this is fucking like this impenetrable. This is not like some kind of like ironclad idea that voting on paper stops people from cheating. What if I'm good at copying shit? What if you hand me your fucking vote? I got some blank ones. You walk out the door. We all used to do this when we were kids. We all used to do the copying thing where you'd stick that shit over the other paper and then trace it. I just put that over and then just check a different box. Throw yours in. Shit, it's paper. I burn that shit. Fuck, I got a fireplace next to me because it's November. So I just throw all of your votes that I don't like into the trash, into the fireplace. Like, how is it that a computer system that would take a person that has real knowledge to hack it seems less secure than handing me your piece of paper?
There's no single point.
No, I'm asking Ken. Does Ken agree that there's a single place where this could go wrong?
So, my question to both of you is, do you trade stocks?
No, I hold low-cost index funds for a really long time.
Mike, do you trade stocks at all?
I used to.
Okay. Do you trust those?
I ran out of money.
Do you trust those?
Absolutely not. If there was something wrong, I would check it, and I would have a way to check it. You can't trust computers. There can be mistakes in all computers. Let me tell you something, Ken. When our election, when there's a hack or a breach in computers or a mistake, it can be,
So one of the things I struggle with department managers and stuff like that is the embracing of technology. And at times, even for not just people below me, but people above me actually are usually the worst about it, is that you have something like an auto order, right? Something where a machine takes the statistical averages off of a sales activity report, right? And then it determines what you need for a certain number of days. So when I was in the class learning about this, there's this guy who's giving the class, and he's the guy who puts all the technology in, and I think he might have been the engineer that wrote the software. And he said, every time that I've ever had a person that I've wanted to use the auto order, they've always said no. And when I asked them why they don't want me to use it, or they don't want to use it, it's because they always say, the computer is going to make mistakes, but I know what I'm doing. And he goes, every single time I asked him, let's spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks where we let the computer do the job, and you tell me after we're all said and done whether or not it's done a good job or a bad job, or you think you could have done a better job and you want to go back to your way of ordering. And every single time the computer does a better job. Every single time the computer does a better job. This is the same argument. Humans are fallible. Machines are fallible. But almost always, especially when you start increasing the number of people that are involved in the process, humans are much more fallible. Every time. Night, Reverend.
hack in, you get people, you fix it, you have better control, or you fix the hack, and then your insurance covers it. It's a money thing. When it happens in our elections, you can lose all your freedoms.
Yeah, see, Leland,
that's
now
the
we're meeting
difference.
our middle ground.
And we should not be using them.
I think
would
what
not
you're
trust
saying makes
any
sense.
computer in our elections ever again, knowing what I know now. You can't do that.
So what makes this so incredibly difficult
yes.
is I think Mike believes that Trump's voter fraud investigator, me, Trump's pollster, Fabrizio, and Secretary of State Raffensperger, all three of us who, using different methodologies and using different data sets completely, all were able to show that the reason for the election loss wasn't fraud at all. It was literally the loss of moderate support from Republicans that caused the loss, because it was a narrow loss, and there's not that many rhinos, let's face it, but those rhino votes mattered in the close races.
And this is why he's going to lose again. Because you have to understand the mistakes you made to do better. Like, imagine if you're a boxer and you lose a fight to a person. Let's say you lose it on points, not by being knocked out. You lose on points. And then you go back and somebody goes, well, let's watch the tape. And you go, I'm not watching that tape. I know I won. And they go, well, hold on. Like, even if you disagree, even if you don't think that you won, or you do think you won, you don't think you lost. Don't you think it's a good idea to see what mistakes you made, so that way next time you can win by more, so that way there's no chance of you losing? And you're like, no. And they're like, okay, well, hold on. I'll tell you what. I'll watch the tape. Your cut man will watch the tape, and the assistant coach will watch the tape. Okay? And you're like, yeah, you guys do it. You guys tell me. And then all three of those people come back to you, and they go, yeah, it looks like actually you lost. And the reason you lost isn't 100% a bad thing. There are things that we can fix. We can do better next fight. And you go, no, I won that fight. You're going to lose again. You're going to lose again. And when you lose again, you're going to do the same thing you did last time. And you're going to tell everybody you didn't lose. Because this is ridiculous. He had his pollster, a guy who probably still works for him today. I do not doubt that his pollster is still his pollster. You have the third-party investigator, which is Kenneth Block. And you have Raffensperger, who's a Republican who had every reason to engender trust in Donald Trump in an attempt to garner favor. All three of them said, I'm really sorry, but it looks like you lost Georgia. And what did he say? Just find me 11,780 votes. That's all I'm asking for. He's going to lose again, and it's going to be his fault. So if you're a Trump supporter and you really want Trump to actually win, you should be telling yourself and everybody you fucking know that the way he's doing this is going to result in his loss. And it's not because things were rigged. It's not going to be because everybody hates Donald Trump. I mean, that's true. But not in the manner that he believes. It's because he's just not a good president.
Mike keeps claiming his basic premise is fraud is everywhere.
What's up, Andrew?
There are small amounts
Andrew,
of fraud.
you're here to tell people that I take a
there
middle
is
ground.
no evidence at all that massive amounts of fraud were everywhere.
I'm doing great in Cali.
I gave that
Cali.
message to the top Trump campaign attorney that I reported to.
I always say in Cali, Leland, I always say they hate us because they ain't us. Dude, I can't. I've lived the gambit in California. You have to understand, I am the California kid. I grew up on social safety nets. I grew up as poor as you possibly can, with no electricity, no running water, in the middle of the ghetto. I grew up on Social Security and food stamps, SDI. My mom was disabled. I grew up from the very bottom using the resources that California makes available to the poverty-stricken to get myself to where I am today. And I have a career of 20 years. I have a wife of 20 plus years. I have amazing children who tell me all the time all the shit about the kids in school being taught shit is complete and utter bullshit. They don't have to learn any of the stuff people say that they do. Like, I love California. We have the best forests, the best beaches. We have everything, the best weather. I love California. And I don't mind paying the taxes because everybody likes to say that the taxes are really bad. I come from a background that needed social safety nets, and because of those social safety nets, I have succeeded in my life. I have a child who is diagnosed with Asperger's, who has an IEP through the state of California, and his individual educational plan is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I wish that every single kid had an IEP. If I was ever president, I would 100% lobby to increase the number of teachers, their pay, their appreciation, so that way we had the ability to give children IEPs, because my son would not have been as successful as he has been in the educational system without California State's IEP program.
Alex Cannon, he brought it to Mark Meadows, who, in response to the finding, hey, we looked and just didn't find any fraud to change the results, his answer was, well, that means there's no there, referring to the claims of voter fraud being relatively empty. So I get your zeal, Mike, for solving a problem. The problem is you have to make sure the problem exists before you go to.
Hold on. We're giving Ken the last word here. You
have to, before you go to extremes, like we're going to roll back computers and go back to the Stone Age in terms of counting votes. You better have solid evidence that there's a problem and you haven't shown me that evidence. It has to be verifiable, quantifiable, and I haven't seen it, and I'm happy. If you want to deliver me a whole bunch of stuff, I'll go through it. But to go there without having the evidence, I believe, is dangerous, and it's leading us on a conversation that moves us away from addressing the things that we really should be fixing.
Gentlemen, listen, Mike, I'm so sorry.
All you have to do is go to frankspeech.com.
The evidence you claim is there. I gotcha.
It's all sitting there.
I gotcha. Mike.
Record. This is about a lady that got 0 votes in her own precinct, you guys.
All right, we're going to look at it. At some point, the conversation must come to an end. Ken, real quick, you don't want to melt down the machines to turn them into prison bars the way Mike wants to do, right?
I think that we would find that it would be incredibly difficult to do our elections by hand. It would take far longer than we think. And who is to say that those people who are counting late at night aren't going to make their own errors? So,
not to mention, we have better ways at this point of making prison bars than melting machines down, I would say.
Exactly.
Listen, gentlemen, Ken Block.
I thought this was a great conversation because I think David Pakman does a good job of steering the conversation in a really productive manner. I love that it's not a liberal Democratic, Democratic, or a progressive person that's debating him on the subject. I love that it's a person that worked for Donald Trump that has the integrity to not falsify information and instead provide the things that he found as they were and let it speak for itself. And even on look, like I said, I don't hate conspiracy theorists. I think conspiracy theorists have a place in our society. I think that conspiracy theorists help to put boundaries on our government. I think that what happened during the Cold War was insane. I think that we need voices of all types to help keep our government in check. But I believe that conspiracy theorists have had a little too much of the dope because the internet and the availability of information has, like, in some way overstimulated conspiracy theorists to the point that they're literally driving themselves crazy finding all of this information. Whereas before, you believed, like, the moon landing didn't happen, but the reason you believed it was because your older brother got high once and told you about this book he read. Or you got the book from him and you read it. And now you can spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day online looking these things up, verifying your own bias. And unfortunately, I think that turned conspiracy theorists from people that want to talk about whether or not there is a second gunman and whether or not we should be trusting our government after something like JFK being assassinated, into these hyper conspiracy theorists. And I call them doomers because almost everything they believe leads to this ideal that there's no hope. Everything's bad. We're all going to end in a very bad way. And I think that that's not just bad for them, but I think it's bad for society. That's why I'm writing a book on it, is that we have to be able to be, as my grandfather would tell you, healthy. Have a healthy, I can't speak right now, it's been too long. Have a healthy skepticism of our government. We have to have a healthy skepticism, but it has to be healthy. It can't be off the rails paranoia. It has to be healthy, because you can't take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself. And if you're losing your mind, then you can't help other people. So if you believe these things, then you should also kind of take into account that you need to keep a stable mentality about these things. So I like this conversation because I think it showed where a person like Mike Lindell is obviously passionate, obviously paid a lot of his money into it, obviously used to do crack. And somebody like Ken Block is probably the perfect person to have this debate with him. Oh, dude, I could 100% come up with a million conspiracy. I think about it all the time because I have that kind of thought process, right? I think about like all this crazy different shit that could be happening, and I'm like, holy fuck, like conspiracy theorists. If I was conspiracy minded, I could come up with so many different crazy things. Allegedly. Skepticism and critical thinking are worthwhile, and that isn't what conspiratorial people bring to the table. Alex Jones has a grain of truth in everything he says. No. What Alex Jones does is not healthy. On a side point that will lose me the majority of my subscribers here as we get ready to close the show down, I watched the Joe Rogan stand-up because I had seen some clips of some of the dumb shit he said. And I used to be a Joe Rogan fan, used to be a big Joe Rogan fan. A lot of the people that are really intelligent people I actually found through Joe Rogan. Brian Cox, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Jonathan Haidt, William Von Hippel. Like, I found really good people through Joe Rogan. And one of the reasons I'm writing my book is because I believe people like Joe Rogan got triggered during COVID. Joe Rogan, during his time in COVID, had all the COVID conspiracy shit, all the vax shit. And he also had the N-word video that happened all at the same time. And I believe that triggered him to a point where now he goes the complete opposite way. And so the reason I'm writing the book is because I find that really fascinating. And I'm the type of person that when I see clips, I want to go watch the full video to make sure that what I believe is true. And I watched the whole stand-up. I'm going to tell everybody that hasn't seen it. It was the very beginning of it was very cringy. He does repeat some really shitty tropes about Michelle Obama, which I completely dislike, do not find funny, and it's not because it's not funny. I laugh at some pretty bad shit, but it's because it's just kind of really like lowbrow, and it's kind of fucked up to say. But he actually, if you care about looking into that mentality and seeing, I am a voyeur of the human condition. That's why I'm into looking at the cult thing. It's why I'm into looking at the conspiracy theory things, is because I am a voyeur of the human condition. And watching that stand-up is oddly like watching an experiment, because Joe Rogan oftentimes in that stand-up tries to qualify over and over again the things he's saying, whether it's about trans people or it's about gay people or it's about, he takes back the Michelle Obama joke, but then in a weird way doesn't. And I truly believe that the reason that he continues to qualify it is because he said some things during COVID because he was upset about the way he was being attacked that he probably doesn't 100% agree with, but now his audience does. And I was just watching this video about brainwashing, specifically on the alt-right, and how people can grift or glom onto a grift, right? And how that grift begins is that they say something that's very alt-right that they only kind of mean or they think is funny, and then they see the reaction from their crowd, and then they realize how much that crowd likes it. And then they start doing it more because it's really financially beneficial. So it was really weird to watch him try to qualify this shit on stage where he'd say, like, hey, I love gay people. And the crowd would be quiet. So it was really strange to watch him go through this kind of like almost emotional battle with himself where he wants to say things that his audience agrees with, but then tries to qualify them because he doesn't want to be seen as a bad person. And seeing the lack of reaction from his crowd when he qualifies those things really tells you a lot about the type of people that he has now attracted to him. Really actually super interesting. I know that's weird to say about a comedy stand-up show. I think when he does talk about his use of the N-word, it is pretty funny about how he had to watch himself do it and how he is like, holy shit, that is racist. Like how cringe it was to have to watch yourself for 4 minutes saying racist shit. I thought that was pretty funny. I also have said, and Andrew's going to kill me for this. Andrew, don't kill me for this one. This is the most middle ground of all middle grounds. All right. I also believe in the path of redemption. And that's why I say to people that when you get out of the MAGA cult, I'll be here for you with a cigarette and a hug. And if you want to reintegrate into society, I can help you. My toxic trait is that I think I could probably sit down with Elon Musk and convince him to fix his relationship with his transgender child. My toxic trait is that I believe I could sit down with Joe Rogan and help him to understand that people were just fucking hurt by the shit that he was saying and that really they still love him and want him to be a funny dude again. That's my toxic trait, is I genuinely believe that I could talk sense into people, and unfortunately that's why I'm here. Yeah, and Sour, I think everybody's got their own things. I think back in the day I really enjoyed the podcast with really intelligent people. I loved seeing him talk to Neil deGrasse Tyson because I got to see the like his shows nowadays just aren't that good. He had one with Ray Kurzweil that was still pretty good because I love Ray Kurzweil. But that's my toxic trait. My toxic trait is I genuinely think I can help people fix their shit. It's stupid, it's fucking pointless, and sometimes it's fucking defeating, to be honest with you. But I am who I am. So that's jail life and no jail, no parole for trying to redeem Musk. From a parent's point of view, dude, shut the fuck up, Bob. I'm glad you came in at the end so I could say that. From a parental point of view, I love my kids more than anything in the world, and just thinking about a parent not loving their child just breaks me, dude. It fucking breaks me, man. I know that that's once again a weird thing to say because it's not me, and I probably shouldn't feel that way about somebody else. But seeing seeing a child not have their relationship with their parent is just fucking. My mom was mentally, physically, sexually, emotionally abused her entire life. My sisters as well. I was as well. My father was a drug addict and alcoholic, nowhere to be seen until I was in 12, 13 years old. I didn't have those connections, and it breaks my fucking heart to see that happening. So, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Bob, you waited till the end. Thanks, Bob. So I do. I appreciate you guys. I fucking love you guys for being here. And, I just want to see America healthy again. I want to see people fucking back to loving the Olympics. I want to see people talking about the border problems and the election problems in a sane manner. I want to see people talking about hope and happiness again and getting away from all the fear, anger, and hate. But until we get there, I said it in the middle of this, I'm a good person, but I'm not always a nice person. And when people come in here and you're going to shit on people I love, shit on ideas that are productive, then I'm going to shit on you back. I'm a good person, but I'm not always a nice person. All right, guys. I love you to death. I hope you guys have a good week. I will see you on Wednesday if you want to come check out the show on Wednesday, 5 o'clock Pacific or 6 o'clock Pacific, depends on when I get done with my run and eating dinner. And then, of course, Saturday is 5 o'clock almost all the time Pacific. If you want to support me, you can support me through Super Chats, or you can support me by joining my channel. If you don't want to support me financially, which is completely understandable, I know people do not have a lot of money, you can go to my channel. You can like videos. You can share videos. You can comment on videos to help the algorithm. I do make a tiny bit of money off of videos, so that always helps out. I'm super thankful for everything you guys do. The best thing that you can do is always just show up, comment, push back on my ideals, and just be here. All right, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I'll see you next time.